like another, like the program still exists, but it just exists in a new place. So I'm not sure yet when those grants will be, like the next opening will be for those grants. But they've been in this program, and if it continues kind of in a similar fashion, they're really pretty fast-tracked grants. So they want you to get up and get the project moving within basically within a year.
Oh, that's great. And then I forgot to ask too, Public Works, any significant staff time involved for executing this, or it seems like it must be handed off to staff to do the study?
There will be some staff time. I'll be managing the study and the public outreach part of it. And there will hopefully be input from different departments and, as we look at sites.
Okay, good. Last question. I got this one from a community member, and they were wondering if the city could, I think we should absolutely go ahead with this, but they were wondering if the city could just have private companies who do solar installations commercial just come in and basically give a quote and do a feasibility analysis, or is that?
It will be a consultant who does the feasibility. So we'll engage a.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Who will do the feasibility study.
Okay, so essentially we're just, that makes sense. All right, thank you. All good.
Okay, any other counselors? Yeah, Mike.
Since we're a majority owner on this building, can we consider this building?
I believe we will at least consider it. I'm not sure how the eligibility for future grants would work out. So, but I think we'll definitely at least consider it.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time I've ever called you Mike. I'm going to call you Michael from here on out.
Friends call me Mike.
Okay, all right. Anna.
Hey, Jennifer. I'm super happy about this. I've been proposing it for a long time, but in the form that Jeff referred to of just, get 3 bids and see what we can pull out. But the $100,000 feasibility study is great. Is this going to include parking lots? Because one thing that people are doing elsewhere is putting roofs over their parking lots and mounting solar panels on them.
Oh, right now we're going to be looking at city-owned facilities. So I think as it pertains to like where the solar is implemented, using it over a parking lot for a site would possibly pencil out. It's definitely something that we could look at. Like, for example, if there's a building in the parking lot and the building is facing the wrong direction, or couldn't handle the load of the solar panels, it might be feasible to look and see if, well, what is there something we could do over a parking lot, or like another piece of the property that's not, not on the roof. So there's different options to look at.
That's great. And I thought Michael's question was really good because, nothing's going to throw shade on the Norm Dix building for foreseeable future. Thank you.
Other than our Pacific Northwest weather, right?
Thank you and to everybody in Public Works for making this happen.
Eric, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, how should we treat the item?
Consent.
Yes, that was an easy one. Thank you, Ms. Ketterer.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have item A2, Internal Services Manager Matt Donnelly-Cott here to present on the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services contract with CLX LLC for janitorial services. And was this discussed in any committees?
Yes.
Okay.
It was discussed in Public Works.
Do you have any kind of any other information you wanted from that, or is it a head nod?
Well, he answered all my questions that I had, like where it's being used. Janitorial contract is Public Works, the court, police, the utility building, and one small portion of Fire Station 1.
And BCAT.
Oh, and BCAT. Yep, sorry.
All right, take it away, Mr.
All
Donnelly.
right. I'm here to present a new janitorial contract that would take effect on January 1st. Earlier this year, I brought a 1-year contract extension to council of our current contract. At that time, I discussed future plans to look into using the Washington State DES contract. This does utilize the DES contract. There were 23 contractors on the list, but only 6 provide service to Kitsap County. We researched and evaluated all 6 contractors and determined CLX was the best fit. CLX has agreements with City of Longview, Port of Tacoma, Washington State Patrol, and they do the DES opposite, which I thought was a good reference. To maintain our current level of service at our 7 locations, the new monthly cost is $10,127.11. This is about a $40 increase from our current cost. Total annual cost is $121,525.32. The current DES janitorial contract expires March of 2027 with a possible 2-year extension. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, Jane, do you want to lead us off? Any questions?
I don't have any additional questions. I think it's pretty great that the increase is only $40 a month. So as long as they're keeping up with the work that Mr. Donlicott needs, that's great.
Jeff, do you have any?
Nope, it's a clean proposal.
Okay, counselors?
Consent.
Consent, thank you very much. That was easy. All right. I love easy.
So
I also love discussion too, but, okay, next up is item A3, Utility Manager Chance Barthume to present on Water Quality Financial Assistance Program grant with the Washington Department of Ecology, Francis Street Outfall Stormwater Treatment Construction Project. Was this discussed in any committees?
I don't recall. Was it?
It was in Public Works.
Okay,
Was it
All right.
a months
It's been
ago?
a while.
All right, it must have been a few months ago then.
Yeah.
okay, all right. Well, if it was a few months ago, maybe we don't know if there was any lingering questions, so we'll just proceed with your presentation then, yes.
All right, so we have our stormwater team put together a proposal or a grant application, submitted it to the Department of Ecology to construct stormwater treatment on Francis Street, which is right off of Harlow. And we were successful in getting the grant from Ecology. Total amount of the project is about $1.64 million. The grant itself is 1.3 or 1.4 million. So the stormwater utility will provide the match. It's in our approved CIP. And it's a continuation of our efforts to restore Kitsap Lake and protect it. So we're very fortunate. The Ecology ranks us pretty well. So we've worked with us very closely. So, and also it was a good effort with our engineering group and our stormwater people to kind of work together, because I'm trying to get them more involved with the actual application, the writing, grants and whatnot. So I believe this will be constructed in 2025, along with the other Kitsap Lake treatment retrofit.
Thank
Happy
you.
to answer any questions.
Fantastic. All right, Jane, you want to lead us off?
I don't have any additional questions.
And Jeff?
No, but just looking at the contract, is there a due date or a estimated completion date? I think the funding expires June 2026.
Yes, that's probably. We will have
The cleaning.
construction completed well before that.
But it's coinciding with the other work that's being done,
Yes. So.
and that's ready to.
Kitsap Lake's getting a lot of work between
Yeah.
the park retrofit and the treatment getting installed there, and then stuff in Dockside at 3 locations, and then Kitsap Way at the garage. That's another project. This one's on Francis. So this pretty much covers almost all of our stormwater outfalls into the lakes. And the treatment is for phosphorus, nutrients, oils, and metals as well. But the nutrient component is the most important to help reduce algae blooms overall, other than our treatment applications that we're doing.
so no worries about getting it done by mid-2026. All right.
All right, counselors?
Not just, after you are.
Contact continuous deflective separation pre-treatment device and 2 hydraulically connected storm filter cartridge vaults with phospho-absorbed media cartridge filters. What are we doing, Chance?
The CDS units, are there's essentially soil concentrators. Those remove the fine particulate and sediment from the stormwater before the stormwater hits the filter media. It extends the life of the filters themselves. And also with that, bacteria tend to collect on sediments as well, so it'll reduce the sediment bacteria load going into the treatment hole. It just extends the life, and that's what those are for. And that's what we found with our stormwater program is that the CDS units are important to have before the treatment vaults, because otherwise we end up having a lot of maintenance on the vaults themselves, the treatment media.
So help me out. We got 69 acres this is going to treat. So you're telling me it's all kind of flowing into one area, how it's already designed?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then are we constructing, are we taking any other additional land, or are we using the existing footprint of our vaults or treatment, or what's going on?
It's in the roadway.
It's in the roadway.
Francis, between Harlow and Lake Drive, I think it is. So it's right there in that section, and we're taking advantage of our 2 outfalls that are there. So, had to do some switching flows, moving things around a little bit.
And do you think this is going to have a dramatic effect on the water quality, or just
Significant effect. Between all of these treatments, we're going to see some reduced phosphorus in the lake from natural or from the stormwater contributions. We'll still see phosphorus from sediment loads that are already in the lake. We're continuing our monitoring. We monitor the lake every 2 weeks for pre-reactive and dissolved, pre-reactive and total phosphorus and the dissolved oxygen.
right? So do you anticipate long-term fewer treatments to the lake?
I'm hoping. I am anticipating, but I'm hoping. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We have natural recycling because of the sediment. The sediment in the lake already, as it decomposes, it releases phosphorus back into the water. And the treatment that we're using with the Utrizorb G or Foslock, that puts a cap over the top of the sediment, which is like a gelatin cap, more or less. But over time, that does get fully absorbed. It fully absorbs and it gets where it doesn't collect anymore. So we're going to have to continue treating but we could reduce our dosages when it comes down to it.
Okay, thank you.
Anna?
Thanks. I was just wondering if you could briefly talk about the startup pipe solutions that you've been doing through outreach to the community surrounding Kitsap Lake to reduce excessive nutrient input by supplying and guiding, supplying information and maybe materials as well to treat lawns in a way that's not going to negatively impact the lake water.
Sure. One of our efforts is the education outreach program where we send out natural yard care information, a specific information sheet for lakefront property owners. We did target the entire Kitsap Lake Basin drainage, so pretty much city and county side. And so we sent out information on how to take care of your yard naturally, how to protect the water of the lake and streams in the area by correctly collecting and disposing of lawn trimming, not using phosphorus in any kind of fertilizers, correct disposal of fluids such as automotive, other types of pollutants. And this is, I think, a pretty successful campaign. It's also something done countywide as part of the West Sound Stormwater Outreach Group, which we're a member of.
Okay, thank you. I just think it's a great program and I wanted to make sure we all knew about it.
Anything from you, Mike?
Thank you. Well done on the grant writing.
And we have a good team.
Okay, So just a couple quick questions for me. So thank you for the question, Eric. What are we actually doing? So you're removing, it's helping to remove the fine particulate before it hits the filter. Okay. And reducing the sediment bacteria load. That's the main goal. That's the main two goals of this treatment.
That's the main two goals of the CDS units, and then the water then flows through filter media that are in canisters. So they're, round canisters, 24 inches tall. There's 100 and some of those inside of the vaults. So we have a lot of canisters. So water has to flow through that. It's like flowing through a fabric, cloth fabric. And
Like a cheesecloth when you're making juice.
Exactly.
Right? Sorry, I can get down with that. I'm a canner. Okay, all right.
Exactly. That's what it does. So when it flows through, it has the media that's in there removes free reactive phosphorus, metals, oil, carbon,
Okay.
anything that is not, it can be found collected. So if it's dissolved in the water, it won't remove that. But if it's a free particulate, it will remove quite a bit of that, probably 70 to 90% of that, depending on what it is.
This is
Oil
all,
is very high removal. So
Oh, good.
That's a good.
well, and I was just kind of like looking at a map here, and so it's Francis Street outfall. So I think something I might want to do is, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is this something that this whole project deserves its own field trip? Is just my opinion on everything. But anyway, so the Francis Street outfall, I see Francis Street is a little bit far away, but I see a Francis Avenue. I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out where the outfall is, but I could see how it's at Francis
Avenue.
Francis Avenue. It is Francis Avenue.
Which is not too far off the kids' out.
Yep. Okay, I wanted to make sure I was at the right place. Yep, it's right there. Because there's a Francis Street that's a little bit further away, but it's in the same general area. So, okay, thank you for the clarification on that. I don't have any other questions, except when you're going to have a field trip for us. And anyway, council consent.
Consent.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Okay. Next up. Oh, Mr. Riley, I think it's you. Hello, sir. So you're here for items A4 through A6. So the first one is ordinance to amend and reestablish city rates and fees for 2025. Finance. Did you get a briefing on all this stuff in finance?
No,
No.
Oh, okay.
Straight to you.
Yeah.
Straight to us. Okay, so on A4 through 6, we're just going straight to the council on that. Okay, here we go.
Just an update. So, rates and fees for general rates and fees we'll discuss, utility rates and fees we'll discuss, and the property tax ordinance we'll discuss.
Okay, and
There's
just
also two that are identified for public hearing. Those are just teed up to be able to present to council during workshops and discussion tonight.
I just want to make sure that we have a nice introduction to each of those levels for the folks that are tuning in from. Okay, so we're at when you move on to item A5, let us know, and I know Director Nucky will be part of that conversation too. Okay,
We'll have a hard copy for you.
great. Okay, thank you so much. All right, please continue, Mr. Riley.
So we have rates of 2025 rates and fees to present. I'm going to share my screen just for the audience and for the council to kind of walk through, and then I'm really here to take questions. Hopefully, receive the packet. We're able to go through it. I've got received a few emails. Appreciate that. If you phone call with some questions, but I'll lead through what the changes are, and then we'll take questions. So bear with me and share my screen.
While you're doing that, I want to acknowledge that Councilor Fry is joining us remotely. And so, Councilor Fry, can you hear us okay?
I sure can. Thanks for
Okay,
checking in.
Thank you. Apologies for not acknowledging you earlier.
No worries. It's kind of fun hiding out here.
Just make sure to chime in whenever you need something if I miss you, okay?
I will.
Denise, can you see that okay? Or do you want me to enhance that a bit?
It's in the
packet as
packet.
well.
Okay.
No, we're gonna move forward. Okay. So if you want, so in first rate fee change in the establishment fees from last year, the first change is on 282 in your packet. That's page 5 on the rate and fee schedule.
just scroll down to that, it's community development. We did look at their labor rate, previously established. Get to it real quick. Previously established labor rate, fully loaded rate for community development was at $73 an hour. Looking at current staffing, current costs, that comes out to $85. So we made that adjustment to their hourly rate of the chart. Next, page 290 in your packet, table E. Fire department have proposed changes for ALS transports and ALS. You can see those there. Increase that.
Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
There you go.
I almost focused.
Okay.
Do we have a rationale? Just an explanation of, I mean,
I don't see the fire chief here, but we can take comments and have him respond.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you. All right. Page 303.
I saw McGanny. I think I saw the
Yep.
chief signing on.
Oh, his hand.
go right ahead. I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure you've got a good explanation for this, Chief McGanny. Go right ahead.
Well, it's a two-part story. One, our costs continue to increase for transports, and this will bring all 6 fire departments in the Kitsap County in line with the same transport fees.
Okay.
We talked about this last budget. We did a 2-year term to get everybody caught up. So if one of our citizens get transport by another fire department, they'll be charged the same countywide.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief McGanny. All right. Thank you, Mr. Riley. Oh, yeah, Jeff, go right ahead.
To elaborate on that, Chief, was it, I remember we increased it significantly last year. That is the case. We've done 2 like 13% increases, or we will after this year.
Yes, like I said, it is to bring, well, where'd my screen go?
There you are.
Everybody in the county up to the same rate. Our rates were a little lower, and we're still significantly lower than other counties and private ambulance, but this brought us on par with everybody else in the county. And when I presented this last year, it was a 2-year plan instead of one big hit. We did it over 2 years.
Okay, so we did about, this year's proposed about 18%. We did similar last year.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley, for that break.
Thank you, Chief. Sorry I didn't see you online there. My fault. All right, so next in your packet, page 303. Here we have public record fees. So originally there were some changes in the state law for public records charges for printed copies. The previous clerk had the first 50 pages free. Proposed change here would, from the first page, be able to assess the $15% fee and the 10-cent fee on the first page and not waive the first page.
Hmm.
Are these available online?
They're available digitally, yes. So without a charge.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so page 306. And these are telecom, just updating the lease, tower lease, franchise fee, making market adjustments.
What page was that?
This is on page 306 of the packet.
Okay.
And did not write down the page of the pit. Page
29.
29 of the rates and fee schedule. If you have questions, they take these and get answers from Melinda.
Can you leave a space between the old rate and the new rate to make it easier to read? Is that possible?
You can look at that. These are all the track changes, so how they show up. It's kind of an automated function, but I can look at that and see if there's a way to do that. But I did see that on the number 3. Looking at that, I thought it went to $228
Yeah.
when I first looked at it. So I could see the benefit of separating. But I'll take a look, see if there's some formatting.
Yeah,
to do when
if
you get it.
it's possible, I think it'd be easier for.
Okay.
Made the tower owner sad.
Yeah.
Our overlords on the
Yeah,
tower.
yeah. So, and then the last page of the packet, we will have you, no change, no proposed change. Okay, so here, take, any additional questions?
All right, counselors. Consent? Oh, just kidding. Who wants to?
I'm waiting for that.
Questions, comments, discussion? Yeah, Anna.
Thank you. So, I don't know if the rest of you got this email that I sent yesterday, but,
Packet.
is it good? Yeah, not in the packet that I downloaded earlier this morning. Anyhow, so costs have gone up about 20% on almost every contract we review. Costs of staples have gone up considerably. Salaries have risen. So why are our rates and fees almost exactly the same?
Good question. So, other directors are here to maybe speak on the rates and fees. I can speak to the labor rates. So like community development, we did a labor rate assessment. We saw the increase there based on labor, cost, materials, their supplies. Engineering did something similar, looked at where their labor rates were, did an analysis on that. Did not see a significant change where they were to where they are in some of the fee structure. So did not propose change this year. It was pretty nominal. They can speak to that, I believe. We can add some of that. Some of the other rates and fees, I know we've had, I want to speak for Parks and Recreation, our directors here, but we've had some change in leadership to be able to go in and maybe dive into those late in the game. Maybe you want to hold off on that. Maybe we'll take a look at it next year, but some of those were, fees for kids and user rates. So don't want to speak for them. So if you want the platform, it's yours. But
You did a great job.
okay, great. And then, but if you have specifics, Andrea, yeah.
If you take a look at rate table C, there is for building permits, it makes a reference to an external table. It says exhibit 1.
What page is that on, please?
I don't know what.
I'll find it for you.
Table A would be on,
Table C
table C would be on page 281 of your packet.
or page 11 of the rates and fees?
Keep scrolling back.
Page
Oh,
11 of rates,
284.
284.
So building permits
Okay,
make
got
reference to
it.
this table 1.
Page
And if you
6.
scroll to the bottom, table 1 is based on fair market value of materials. So our permit fees have automatic risers in them, basically, because we refer to the building information tables published by the International Code Council. So we inherently have building rate increases that basically have this cost rider that goes in it. So that's why most of the time you don't see building permit fee changes, because there's an automatic escalator here at the table, because we make reference to this building rates and fees, and to the International Code Council. It's updated twice a year. We take the most latest update, we implement those in January of each year.
So an evaporative cooler, for example, is 1065, but subject to an automatic riser?
Yeah, the permit fees, so it's all based on valuation of construction. So whatever the cost of construction is, it's established in that table by the International Code Council, and then our permit fees are based on that. So it's all based on valuation of construction. So there's no reason for us to raise permit fees of the reference to the International Code Council.
So what we're looking at here is just a snapshot.
It's a snapshot because it makes reference to that table.
Right. So this could change like as soon as valuation changes.
The valuations change
Got it.
every February and August. I'm just telling you is that we wrap
Okay.
them in and we make them happen in January each year.
Thank you.
But see, it's still in here anyway.
Yeah.
So,
And my second question is about Gold Mountain,
Yes.
which has some of the lowest rates around. For those of you who went on the field trip that started with a budget meeting, this is something they said at that time. They also mentioned, because Denise had got me interested in like where do people stay, that they only recommend the 2 most expensive hotels in Bremerton, and after that they go to Silverdale, Paulsbo, Gig Harbor around. Therefore, it seems quite feasible that people who use this golf course could stand a substantial increase in fees. And the only thing I'm pushing for is that we maintain the current rates for all legal residents of Bremerton. They are, because Gold Mountain is coming to us later in this budget process to ask
for money.
Yeah,
What page of this fee schedule are you looking at?
Page 291.
Okay. 291.
So, would you like a response?
Yes.
Okay. Well, look at Tim, it's, I have an answer for you, if you'd like me to jump in, but,
Yeah, I'd love for you to jump in first so that I can.
you can fill in for us.
Just historical stuff that I've.
Exactly, he's got all the history for it. So, the BCC are minimum fee set,
I'm sorry?
and minimum fees, there's like the minimum fees they can charge. At Gold Mountain, they have a dynamic fee structure. Depending on playability, time of day, the dynamic T sheet that fills up. So supply and demand, the more it fills up, higher the prices go, they are able to charge more. So I can answer that side. I think the discussion on Bremerton residents and maintaining a fee structure for them would be a discussion for council, during budget, during retreat. If we'd like to do that, it'd be a fundamental change of what we're doing currently. So, they do offer twilight rates that are reduced, discounted, they offer junior rates, senior discount rates, but their pricing is dynamic. So these are the minimum fees they can charge, but I'll tell you, they do go up. There's days I don't go play. It's a little outside my, my family allowance to play golf. So,
Notwithstanding this dynamic pricing, the consensus of the managers during our meeting was that their rates are significantly lower than comparable nearby courses. So my question's still the same.
And that'd be a conversation with our golf professionals to see, what they.
And there really aren't any comparable golf courses in close by.
Still a municipal course.
Does Chambers Bay.
So let's focus on what's being asked. Are you asking for us to analyze whether, do you want to have that discussion now? About whether we should change the fee schedule, or would you like to, because
Is there a better time?
is there a better time? I don't know if there's a better time if we're gonna be approving this on a consent agenda next week.
I think
No, on the November 6th public hearing.
yeah,
Okay.
so this was not public hearing, but,
No, this is
for
for consent agenda, or,
I think
general.
the discussion on how they price, and they have the ability to dynamically price, and where they feel like the market's right. So they have the flexibility to do that as golf professionals. We don't get involved in that. We set minimum for them not to go below. So that's one discussion. The other one, I think, is a fundamental discussion on to do Bremerton rates and what that looks like for the course. If we cap rates at any time when they should play. It's a pretty heavy discussion to have. I think it's a great fee schedule, but open to discuss. But I would propose that be in a conversation for next year as we plan to build this and have a really robust discussion with our golf professionals as we go forward.
Can we have it before they ask us for more money in the budget?
so here's what I wanna do, counselors. I wanna do a kind of a temperature check on this. Do we wanna have this discussion now, or do we want to put it off when we have the golf professionals here? Eric and Michael and then Jeff.
So I don't know how we can have an intelligent discussion raising fees when we don't have the people from the golf course here. I mean, I think it'd be irresponsible for us to just go look at it and say, think it should be $20. I think it should be 24.
Yeah.
I mean, there's supply and demand issues here, and I don't see how we could do that tonight. So on a larger question, I'm looking at the ordinance. Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong, or Kylie. I think we can change the fee at any time with 10-day notice in the ordinance. This isn't set in stone. Oh, we have to wait until next year. We can pass it the way it is. And then when it's time to have the discussion with Gold Mountain, we can review their fee schedule, have them justify their current fee structure versus any increase. And then we could amend this ordinance on grant tables and raise it accordingly. We could do it in February, we could do it in March, whatever.
Yeah, you have flexibility. The contract's also going to be coming to council next year for renewal.
And just point of information, we do have Attorney Jetty on the line if we do need any kind of legal consult. I think Mike Riley already answered that question for us. Counselor Fry, wait, let me go to Michael and then Jeff and then Denise.
So I agree with what Eric kind of said, and but I would say it warrants looking into. I just feel like right now with budget and all that, we've got enough to do, and I don't know if we really have enough to do it before we really start. Well, we're getting into the budget tomorrow, but before that. But
right.
Again, if they come to us with a significant ask, then that will help us decide changes to the rates and stuff. So we don't have to necessarily have it before. We can find out if they literally come to us and say, well, we need $4 more to run this course, we'll be like, well, raise your rates 25 cents, or something. So that's what my tack would be on this.
Jeff?
Mostly agree, except I think it's an excellent point. Should make sure not to lose track of and put on the slate for discussion. And I think what I request is when that comes to us to request a proposal of what it would look like to price it differently for residents and non-residents. Because off the top of my head, I have to imagine we want to keep your total revenue the same. I don't know how many residents play versus non, but let's say it's 50-50. You're raising the rates a little bit and then giving a discount, so you end up with the same amount of money. So maybe some sort of proposal that balances out, and then also how that might work logistically in terms of being able to identify a resident, like what would be required to get that discount.
Transportation
I
benefit.
think it's absolutely worth looking at. Yeah.
It's a requirement parks has.
No, I mean, like if I show up and they say, "Are you a resident or not?" What do I have to hand them? Do I have to hand them a utility bill? Do I have
The
to?
blood donation.
Right? Yeah.
I've never donated blood, so I guess I'm not playing. Yes, Mayor.
Councilor Fry's got her hand up, her talking about tourism.
She's next in the rotation, and so I was just waiting for her.
Yep. Thinking no.
Okay.
Those two items, but definitely.
And I don't disagree that we should keep it on the slate for discussion in the future. And then Councilor Fry.
Yeah, I think that it needs to be part of the consideration of a business plan, when they present what we anticipate to be a big plan and for improvements out there. It's definitely then time to discuss it. The only other comment I want to make is we do need to be careful that that we don't make assumptions that we aren't making assumptions about people that golf, just as we don't want to make assumptions about people that take advantage of any of our other services. So I do agree. It's part of the business case and proposal, and let's make sure it's part of that package.
Okay, thank you. So I think we'll just defer the conversation to another time. And what I'd like to do for protocol too is I apologize, Finance Committee. I probably should have deferred to you first to talk first, and I want to go ahead and defer to the Finance Committee after you finish your summary.
It's just really a follow-up.
Sure.
Even though I am not crazy about golf, my constituents are crazy about golf. They have regular leagues that meet at Brother Don's. The statements that I made about Gold Mountain came from their mouths while we were there about comparable golf courses and what hotels they recommended. I'm not making any other assumptions about them. That's it.
Okay. Michael, do you have any questions? I want to defer to you first about the rates and fees.
No, nothing really that I haven't.
For city
already
rates
said.
and fees. Okay. All right. Eric, do you have anything to add for city rates and fees? Okay. And then we have Jeff, right? You're the three on the Finance Committee.
No, it'd be Jane.
Sorry, that'd be Jane. I apologize. I'm the one that made the list. I guess it's been too long, hasn't it, y'all? Thank you, Jane.
Well, our retreat would have to be 2 weeks long for all the things that we said we're going to defer to the retreat. So this really needs to happen in like February or March, December.
Well, they're going to come to us. Gold Mountain's going to come to us, right? So that would be the appropriate time that we can bring it up. So I don't know that it's necessarily, are they coming to us at the retreat or are they coming to us at a separate?
I hope not at the retreat.
No, exactly. So they'll come to us at a separate time to do their asks and their presentation. Mike, do you have Mr. Director Riley, do you have a?
No, I said, well, they're
Okay, we'll see them tomorrow at 5 p.m. Just kidding.
I won't be here.
No, just kidding. No. Okay. So I don't think this would be an appropriate retreat item. I think it's definitely a separate item, but I'm coming up on the end of the year, so we can set the calendar for them, but depending on who's leadership next year. Okay, so I'm making a note for Gold Mountain presentation. Okay. Counselors? Any other questions about cities, rates, and fees? Jeff?
Yeah, I just appreciate I had the same thought of Anna with some of the ones that weren't increased that we were just taking a look at. My two main thoughts were which ones haven't increased in a long time. And I don't know if that information is easy to pull up or not.
We could look at previous schedules and,
Yeah.
and give you that answer. Maybe we can send that an email response. They're all published. They're all
Okay,
published, so we should be able to give you something.
Oh, great. That's not too much work. I think that would be just illuminating. And the other was just which, as we go and look at budget on, but I know it's gonna be a tough budget season. Which one of these are significant sources of revenue versus not. And I say it just in the vein of course, I don't want to increase fees on anybody, but if say we have a park rental fee that hasn't increased in 10 years, the point that, yeah, we've had significant cost increases like everyone else. If I go rent a shelter for Max's birthday party, I want to contribute my fair share, to the curation. So I just want to make sure we're looking for those. So it's easy to see. And then maybe if we have the list of ones that haven't changed in a long time, if any stand out as like, oh yeah, this is actually a significant chunk of revenue for this department. It hasn't changed in a long time. We could.
And I think something just kind of to piggyback on your comment is it's also kind of important to think about like the unintended consequences of increasing fees. That's where I'm coming from, like from a perspective of equity. So just as we're looking at these fees, like what are the unintended consequences? Because I'm sure that the finance department, the parks department, et cetera, have been thoughtful about that as well. And so if there are some, if there are some that haven't been increased in a long time, I would love a rationale, and I'm sure that you've been thoughtful about that in the ways that I've articulated. So that's all I would ask for, is the rationale.
All I was suggesting was a way to highlight ones we'd want to
Sure.
further delve into, not suggesting to increase any at this time, but that's some maybe worth a deeper dive, because it sounds like some haven't been maybe looked at in a long time.
So if I could put that together for you in an easy way to digest, how would you like it to meet council? Maybe sooner than later, so you can look at it, see if you want to further discuss it.
How about every rate that hasn't changed in 10 years, just color it in green or something?
I'm okay doing it side by side for the last 5 years. So you can see that it shouldn't be that.
That would
be great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mike.
Very generous. Thank you.
Yeah.
If there's no issue, maybe we could send, we can hold off on that. If there's issue, happy to discuss it in general. So we did this in general business last year. I think it was because of the chicken. So.
Oh, that's right.
No chicken
That
fees.
was me, wasn't it? The chicken fee is
No
controversial.
goats, no raccoons, no chickens.
We have not been talking about the goats this year, have we, Jane?
Nope.
All
I'm
right.
Still working on
We
that.
just-
We're the
Trying to
pigs.
get the bike riders safe first.
That's right. I guess there's other pressing issues, but okay.
So put up 5 years, but do that as soon as possible.
That'd be great.
So, but we can, along with what Eric was saying, we can amend these later on. We're just, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't, so, oh, Denise, do you have any other, or I'm sorry, Jeff, were you done?
I'm done.
Okay, Denise, do you have any other questions or comments about?
No, I'll raise my hand if I do.
Okay, thank you. And I don't either. And so counselors, do you want to put this on consent? I know we're going to get some follow-up information. What do you want to do with city rates and fees?
I do consent.
So I feel like we tend to get some public comments on this one.
Yeah.
I think general business is the worst idea, just to make it
Okay.
transparent.
Sounds like we want to have a couple of folks want to have it on general, so we're going to pull it to general. Let me know if you need to.
All good.
Okay.
You did general business last year, worked just fine. Believe you had zero public comment. Yeah, no, it's good to go up and discuss. So we're happy to discuss. We have plenty of other items on the agenda to discuss.
So you'll be there anyway.
I will be
so-
there anyway. So
Okay.
I will still provide the 5 years side by side, so you can see it. If for some reason, like I said, you want to change it, just let me know. We'll plan to do the same presentation for the public.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're at A5. And I know that because Director Nucky has come to sit at the table.
Yeah.
And he's here for the ordinance to amend and reestablish utility rates, fees and charges for 2025. And this, again, not brought to any committees, not brought to Public Works or to Finance, correct? So it is hitting us hot right here in this moment. So take it away.
Right. So I'll lead in. We do this obviously every year. The fee schedule's been sent out to council, so hopefully we have some time to digest that. We utilized a rate model that we've been using since 2014, 2012. I can't remember now. I think 2012.
Yeah.
Since 2012, it predicts a 6-year outlook on our utilities. It's a rate recovery. It's a cost recovery model. So revenue requirement to cover our costs. So what's proposed in your packet for the utilities, you have a water increase at 3.5%, you have a wastewater increase at 3.5%, which has been predicted year over year, pretty stable. And then you have a 10% increase in stormwater. We talked last year with some of the mandates coming out of the state of Washington ecology that increased our operating costs in stormwater. We're seeing that continue. Currently, you'll see some stuff in the budget on the utility side for needs, but that this correlates that. I have some notes here. Tom's got some details if we need them, but it still keeps us with our proposed rates across our neighbors. We show that graph every year. We have it in paper form. You'll see this during the budget. Even without the increases with our neighbors, we've been looking at last year, we're still providing the lowest utility rates in our region. So,
And note that we're comparing our 25 rates against, 23 rates, because it's what's available with some of the adjacent jurisdictions.
So just want to highlight that. The overall, when you combine the three utilities, it is an average of 4.7%. For utilities looking at the cost. That is a $5.96 increase on your monthly bill on your average customer, and then a $3.63 on our low income senior bill.
Is that including the tax that you put on top of it?
Yeah, that's all in change to the rate.
So that's rates. You want me to talk about? Okay, so that's rates. So then fees and charges is detailed out as Exhibit A that's in the document. And so the general facility charges are updated every year based on construction cost index, and they're going up. And then when you get into the other various fees, it's actually a fairly heavy lift. It's interesting the way that those are calculated. So talking to Chance before the meeting, and took him about a week and a half to do the calculation. So what he does is he goes through and identifies the costs of all the components that are used for the various connections, water taps, those sorts of things. And then we've got labor in there too. So that's as accurate as we can get with identifying the cost and ensuring that we get the full recovery. So that's how it's calculated.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of things are codified either through the CCI index or CPI.
Yeah.
So.
All right, counselors. Yeah, Jane, go right ahead.
I think this should be in general business too, just to let the public and everybody have the chance to discuss it. Some of the rates look so low, like for inspection of the right of way. They can do it that cheap. That's awesome, but
You don't pay it. No.
actually it was in the other fee schedule. I was looking at that one for Public Works.
The table end stuff.
Yeah.
Is it the table end that you're talking about, like right-of-way permits and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, right.
I
It's an inspection.
Double checked with Ned about that this morning. Engineering did a review and didn't recommend an increase.
Yeah, we gave like 13th hour to if you need to amend the list. And very comfortable looking at the labor rates.
Okay.
Counselors? Denise?
Well, I appreciate the increases being tied to actual increases in expenses. And I think the people paying the fees will probably appreciate that too. I think that's a really good justification for this. It's reasonable. And so thank you for the detail work. It may have taken a lot of time, but I think it is a much more rational way of looking at fees, from that actual increase in expense. Thank you.
I just wanted to weigh in a little bit and give kudos to engineering and their team. A lot of the loans you've been seeing come in front of you, the utility loans, the low interest loans, have kept rates at be able to stabilize the rates. We haven't had to go to bond. We predicted to go to bond a couple of years ago, and originally when that model was built, it was going out to bond every 2 years. You start looking at the issuance cost on that; it's pretty significant. So the success in engineering and public works team to get those low interest loans has
And chance.
and chance with those chances.
I know.
It's allowed us to stabilize what you're saying. Even with the stormwater rate, the effect of getting some money there, so it is only 10% and not more significant. A 10% increase in stormwater is reflective of just over a $2 increase to that utility. Just that number. It is our lower cost utility when it comes to rates.
And just to tag on a little bit, so that we got a $7 million DSIP that, I mean, that would have had a significant impact in rates if we wouldn't have received that. And then also a lot of the stormwater grants that we get, or I think the one that was discussed earlier was a 15% match. Well, that's a great leverage to be able to deliver the water quality. And the last thing I wanted to say about that is that the stormwater NPDES permit has some very, very prescriptive requirements in it, and it takes labor to be able to be compliant with the permit. So that's why you're seeing that increase, which is still modest from a dollar. Yeah.
Public Works folks, any questions about utility fees? Okay, Jeff? Well, I'm gonna do Public Works for this. Next, I'll do finance first for the levy property tax.
I thought it was extremely well explained and to justify and providing the service it costs. So it makes sense. Just technical clarification, even when it's the old one's crossed out and the new one's the exact same amount, that's on purpose. That one's just not changing.
Correct. I mean, there are a few that are that way, and they were based on review.
Okay.
So, and I can't speak to the individual.
No, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
That's no crossed out at all. Okay. Fantastic.
Okay, anybody else? Public Works? Any questions? Okay, Anna.
Thanks. So, on this enterprise funds, the thing that we have on paper only, is that the rate including the taxes?
The rate
Including for all of the comparables.
All of them.
Right.
Okay, because this is something my constituents really like to ask about a lot.
That is what you say.
And honestly,
No.
that's online. And when you get a question, I mean, direct them to
I do.
online because we have comparisons with our neighboring jurisdictions. I think
We try to make that easier to find.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering on the page 2 of 8 on Exhibit A, if again about the storm drainage plan review fees, those have all been examined and they're basically not rising any. I mean, they're not even keeping pace with inflation.
Yeah, pretty nominal. Again, it's been reviewed in the department.
Fair enough. Okay, so I just really have to give kudos to the grants people. And my final one is, one of the things that Bremerton did that was really great was during the pandemic, a lot of rates were capped.
Yeah.
Has there been any repercussions from lost revenue for that?
No, part of that, as you also identified the rest funds as part of our water quality projects. Without those funds, I think yes, we would add some attempts to that, but no, we haven't seen the models on the water and the utility.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, are we doing general or consent for this?
I think it should be on general, just so the public knows that they can comment more easily, just like we're doing for the
I
one
agree.
before it.
Okay, all right, general.
I mean, probably won't be any comments, but
Except when Mike presents, it's like half the time of anybody else.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Director. All right, next up, we have a 6th ordinance to levy property taxes for collection in 2025.
Okay, well, really exciting. To collect our property tax, we need you to pass the property tax ordinance. I'm not gonna get into all the fancy jargon. We're able to levy the 1%. What's it, price deflator? Don't have to say that more than once. The equity was over 1, so there's not a reason to do bank capacity. It was at 2.57. So I'll give you the goods of what you're looking at. So the 1% increase on the property tax is equivalent to $15,571. Our 24 general levy was 8.9 million. Our new construction, based on the estimates from the county, is 186,590. Our tax refunds and canceled tax was 121,582. And the number you need to listening for is our 25 estimated levy limit at $1.44 per thousand is 9,304,960. That's what we levy to the county. We will certify that after adoption of the ordinance. The EMS levy, the voters passed the levy lift up to reset it at 50 cents per thousand. That moves our collection amount to 3.182 million to go into EMS. Previously, I'll pull it up in the presentation. Ordinance. That previously the EMS levy at 30, I think it was at 34, 35 cents. Chief, you can correct me. We as that just under 2.3 million was the previous budget. So an adjustment there, a change there of $882,000. So that's all I have for the property tax.
So I don't know if this is more appropriate to ask audit or finance first, but
I think it'd probably be finance, but.
okay, let's go to finance. Yeah, Michael.
I mean, this kind of like he was saying, it's almost housekeeping. Like we have to do it. And this is also where we just delineate the conditions that we've, whether it's the EMS or the executing or banking. So it's fairly routine, you know.
Okay. Eric, any comments?
Do this here.
All right.
I can add one more for the record before we, there are 2 other things we levy. We have 2 voted bonds on debt service for both public safety. So those are in here as well. You'll see the dollar amounts. I can quote them if you'd like. One is at $900,000 needed to meet debt service obligations in 25, and the other one is $550,000. One, our public safety bond, the 2015 bond, to be the last year of debt service on that. So I'll be paid off that bond.
Fantastic. Any other counselors have any other questions or concerns for this? Okay, consent?
No. I think all these things should be put on general for the public to come in if they want.
Okay, but I need to push back a little bit, only because this one in particular is housekeeping. They've already commented on with their votes. I mean, that's kind of part of what we're doing here. So
Well, they voted for the levy. They didn't vote for the 1%. I think whenever you raise taxes, it should be on general business to allow people the opportunity to comment. And I know you can comment on things that are on the consent calendar, but I think it's just more fair to the public.
okay. All right, so general.
353. All right.
Okay. And looks like for items 7 to 8, this is you're just briefing us on
Those are
public hearing.
To start for workshop tomorrow. There will be an update to the exhibits that are packet. Those are early for the tee up. Don't reference those. We gave you new information that will be referencing tomorrow to make sure you got that. So we reference the page numbers, the schedule, but those are there. We'll refresh those before this the meeting office.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Riley, I think you're off deck now. And I'm going to put us on break for a few minutes. So we'll come back to order at 6:14.
Okay.
Okay, I'm bringing us back to order at 6:14. They don't know out there in the lobby, but Miss Lynham is here for us. Oh, and the counselors. All right, Miss Lynham, please go right ahead.
Hi, gonna apologize in advance because mine is a little bit longer, but please cut
6:14.
me off if needed. Thank you all for having me here.
I'm not
again.
gonna cut you off.
Time to review the 2025 funding recommendations to be included
Thanks.
in our annual action plan. I'll go through just a quick refresher. Oh, here I can actually.
And then Jeff, I'll have you comment for a second.
Great. So just a quick refresher, we received funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development as an entitlement community. CDBG funds can be used to address a wide range of community needs, including acquisition, rehabilitation of housing, public facilities and infrastructure improvements, economic development activities, and services for low-income and special needs populations. Back in June, the council passed the annual policy plan, which outlined our funding priorities for the program year and included other important application information. Application review cycle ended on September 13th, and those recommendations are what we are going to go through this evening. There are a number of regulatory requirements that we are required to work within. All activities not deemed eligible, unless a high national objective and one of our 5-year consolidated plans. We are in the final year of what we come to you guys in next year, early next year, for our next 5-year consolidated plan. There's a 20% set aside for administrative costs, a maximum 15% allowed for public service activities if applicable, and individual capital projects have several other requirements that applicants are made aware of. The applications are reviewed and scored by the project review committee, which is made up of city staff, representatives from the planning commission and city council, and community members. These are always really challenging discussions. I think we had a really great discussion this year. As expected, the dollar amount requests were far greater than what we expect to receive. And I know all of our community members put a lot of thought into these deliberations. Our online application was open June 18th through July 16th. During the month of August, our project review committee reviewed and scored each eligible application. The committee met on August 29th to discuss and rank projects by score, and then applicant interviews and final committee deliberation took place the second week of September. The committee's funding recommendations were released for a 30-day comment period beginning September 16th, closing October 17th. A legal ad was placed in the Kitsap Sun, and the recommendations and call for comments were also posted on the city's website and sent out in an e-news flash. We did not receive any written comments, and then we also are going to be posting a legal ad for the public hearing this Friday.
Should have already been an update. We do have an update. Blue.
And then this is just a snapshot from directly from our policy plan. We begin with the estimated funding based on the amount we received the previous year. 20% of that amount is estimated, plus the estimated program income is set aside for grant administration. We had a little bit of funding from 2024, which the project review committee elected to have rolled into this year. And our total estimated is about 340. The committee's scoring and deliberations resulted in 5 of our 7 applicants being selected for funding. The 2 projects that were not selected, which you'll see at the bottom half there, it's the Bremerton Housing Authority Hybrid Shelter and the St. Vincent de Paul Shelter. Those 2 projects did receive funding from other local sources, so that was good news. The committee's recommendations, I think, really fit the city's funding priorities, which include capital and infrastructure improvements, particularly those that improve access to services and preserve existing units of affordable housing. They also expand economic opportunities for low to moderate income individuals and families in Bremerton. I'll kind of just go through. I'll just go through each project briefly, and then I'll be available for questions at the end. All the projects selected separately and together work to achieve these goals. So the first we have selected for funding was $110,000 for Bremerton Public Works Department through their pedestrian priority network. They identified sites where improvements would have the greatest impact. The committee chose to recommend funding for 3 out of the 4 requested sites, all of which are near or directly adjacent to schools, businesses, and other important services. And as you guys know, city crews can perform this work at a lower cost, making it a really effective use of CDBG dollars. $53,000 was recommended for New Life Community Development Association, the Marvin Williams Center. They own and operate the Marvin Williams Recreation Center. The center is a vital community center which currently houses health and wellness programs, sporting events, and educational programs serving more than 2,000 individuals annually. The Marvin Williams Center is a crucial support for community members, particularly those facing economic challenges. And funds will be used to address urgent capital needs, including roof and foundation repairs, so that they continue providing those services to the community. And next, the weatherization program through KCR was also selected. We have $50,000 will benefit minor home weatherization and minor home repair services for 6 homes. They can be either owner occupied or rental units within the city. Funds specifically will be used for contract labor and materials to install weatherization measures. Health and safety improvements are also prioritized. This program is crucial for preserving affordable housing units in the city, and also has a huge impact on the folks whose living situations are directly improved as a result of the work.
And I know we'll have questions at the end, but just really quick, can you update us on the Blue Bills integration? It's different than this? Okay, thank you.
It's the same thing though.
The general fund, so that is the CDBG fund.
Okay.
So I can address the question, or Sarah can address.
I can provide an update if that's helpful.
Yeah, just a quick update. Is now an okay time?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just a quick.
Yeah, so we recently executed our contract with Kitsap Community Resources for the general fund weatherization program.
Okay.
And in the scope of work is a set aside for up to a certain percent, up to 20% for the work that the Blue Bills are doing. So I just talked with a representative from the Blue Bills organization today, and I'm getting them connected with Nathan Anderson over at KCR.
Okay, great.
So we're moving things along.
Thank you. Just not integrated in the CDBG funds, but the general fund weatherization program.
Yes.
Separate programs. Thank you very much. Okay, please proceed. Thank you for that space.
And the BEST program, Project Review Committee recommended funding for the BEST program, which will support wage compensation for 2 class instructors, including 1 bilingual instructor delivering content in Spanish for the 8-week business basics training course. Additionally, further support is given to program graduates via monthly networking and support meetings, regular check-ins by program staff, as well as one-on-one counseling available by staff and business professionals. And by equipping microenterprises in our community with valuable knowledge and resources, the BEST program helps low to moderate income individuals on their path to economic stability. And then in addition to the BEST program, we had a new applicant for microenterprise support through a for-profit education technology company called Upwards. They have a program called the Boost program. And the goal of the Boost program is to equip low to moderate income microenterprise childcare providers with no cost personalized coaching and digital tools to optimize operations and revenue. This allows microenterprise owners to efficiently manage and expand their small businesses, creating quality local jobs and increasing access to affordable care slots in the community. $64,000 is what the Project Review Committee recommended, and it represents 8 home daycare facilities. Specifically, funds will be used to support 9 essential staff at Upwards to implement the Boost program in Bremerton, and it equates to about $8,000 for home daycare. And with the help of these tools provided by the Boost program, microenterprise daycare owners are able to expand their business, and in turn, the hope is that affordable childcare options in the city will also expand. I know the Boost program has had success in other jurisdictions. Our project review committee selected this amount as sort of a pilot program, and I'm sure we will be checking in on what if they're meeting their goals and their metrics, and if they choose to apply the next year.
Okay, so this is all child care providers. Is that correct?
So it's
Thank you.
it's microenterprise support. So it's providing technology and business support for folks who own a home daycare business.
But it's a for-profit company.
It is a for-profit company.
Okay, so it's, okay, thank you. That makes sense. But it's only supporting childcare resources in our community.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, specifically for folks who qualify as low to moderate income. And the hope is that through this program and through using the support tools that are given
Thank
to
you.
them, that they will get out of low to moderate income status. And then in addition to the project review committee's recommendations, we also ask that council review the Bremerton home funding recommendations, which are selected by the county's grant review committee. And the county grant review committee is recommending $141,949 to be used to acquire 23 new affordable units of housing and 1 unit of office space at Wheaton Landing Apartments. These units will be specifically for low-income families with children in Bremerton. It's centrally located on the region's main bus corridor and within walking distance of elementary schools and grocery stores and other services.
Where is this located exactly?
It's 3256 Wheaton Way.
You see that? That's Cooper right here.
By Boise.
Oh, okay, the new.
That's the old
apartment
payday,
building. Okay.
payday, or the, when we passed, what was it called? Anyway, yeah.
Yet again, it's in District 2.
Yes, it is. I saw you smiling up there, Denise.
Mhm.
So much pride for her district.
And I believe,
Well, in this case, it's Jill Stanton that really saw the connection between this residential rental building that wasn't renting very well and its proximity to the school. And I just, congratulations to everybody involved in this one.
Thank you.
and I believe the last exhibit in your packet is what the entire county GRC's recommendations. So if you're interested to see what the county has funded, those are available as well.
Okay.
And then lastly, just a part of our recommendations are contingencies that are built in should we receive more or less funding. So that's part of our recommendations as well. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lynam. I'm going to defer to Jeff to make first comments or questions, but I don't know that you have questions about your presentation. Yeah.
What was this again? I don't, yeah.
You might have been there.
No, just comments, and then I'm happy if council members have questions too to jump in if able on the process. No, first, just a big thanks to Sarah. It was an extremely well-run review process, and we had a really robust discussion on all these topics, and it was a really diverse and engaged panel. So also a huge thanks to all the volunteers that served on it. Really dived into each of these. We actually had, I think, different takes on all of them to start, and then we had a really good discussion. And we always wish there was more money, but I think where it landed makes really good sense. And so specifically, like the ADA access improvements, there were 4 locations identified initially. We brought that down to 3 in order to be able to fund some of the other programs we thought were worthy. And as Sarah mentioned, so the best weatherization got their full ask, along with Marvin Williams. Marvin Williams especially we thought was really important to make that great facility, repair that roof and get them the funding they needed. And then definitely the new one this year, as mentioned, was this We Care program. And there was a lot of discussion about it being a for-profit company. So I want to assure council members that was not glossed over. But they did provide a lot of excellent data. And again, the the committee really felt that it was worth doing kind of a pilot program funding to see if it really did increase health childcare in the community, just knowing what a lack there is and the high cost, and especially for low-income individuals. They just thought it was a really priority to give this a shot this year and then check in and see the outcome. So again, thought we ended up with some really good results there, and thanks again, Sarah, for all the work.
I haven't been part of that process myself. I can definitely concur that it's very well run, and the discussions are really valuable and robust. So I definitely can relate to that. Counselors, questions, Jane?
So, there was only 7 applicants for the whole program? Is that extremely low?
Really
I mean, it
typical.
just seems
Pretty typical.
low.
That's about what it's been. The two programs or projects that we didn't fund were outliers, just as big capital projects that.
Yep.
But no, I think the number is average. Yeah. And we are going through our 5-year consolidated plan process this upcoming year. It's possible that through community needs assessments and surveys that we take a look at the funding priorities, and that may shift to who applies. But we can do a lot with this funding, but it is very limited. So we let folks know about that. We also do a pre-application process. So we sort of pre-screen applications for eligibility and things like that. So we get a lot of interest, but the folks that spend the time to apply.
So when you go, I should read the rules better, but these have to be open to the public in order to use these funds, right? For the most part.
Well, eligible applicants would be like nonprofits, units of local government, and in certain situations like micro enterprise for-profit companies. But there are very strict federal rules with what we can and can't do with this particular fund.
And can you give money to religious organizations?
We can. Depending on if they have certain non-discrimination
Right.
Yeah.
language in their employees may.
And I hope it's okay to chime in. We actually encountered that last year with CDBG. We turned down an application because we couldn't verify that there were non-discriminations. Any other questions, Jane?
No, but I'm interested in seeing the results of some of these loan or grants that we're giving out.
Thank you, Denise.
This committee, it's the most impactful committee I think we've got, and just full of great work. And Sarah does such a great job every year. I've presented before it. I've never been a representative on it. I can tell you it's a very thorough, very robust process, and yet very comfortable. And congratulations. I personally really appreciate the creativity of this micro enterprise coming in to support childcare. It almost seems like, professional development or something, and investment of that kind with a micro enterprise. It's just a feel good all the way around. And yet not typical, right? And so, yeah, looking forward to how that goes along with the rest of council. But Sarah, once again, thank you. And Councilmember Coughlin, thank you for your service to this committee. Maybe someday I'll be able to be a part of it. My aspiration.
Director Spencer has a hand up, and then Anna will go to you.
Sarah, can you just talk about how we aren't going to be opposed to
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they've actually, they have a lot of information online. I will say one of our kind of things that sort of set off a flag for us, they are very marketing heavy because they are a for-profit company. And in that way is that they are reaching out to lots of jurisdictions in the area. So it's actually a discussion at the
essentially my like association or my professional association. It was a discussion at their conference. And so they have been successful in other communities. They are very willing to give metrics from other jurisdictions that they've worked with. I think just for me personally, the biggest takeaway was that yes, it is a for-profit company, but it is a for-profit company that is trying to do to implement this, and it's sort of a win-win for them. They get more people on their app, they get more people using their networking services, but they're also helping folks to get out of sort of that low to moderate income bracket.
Anna.
Thanks. So I too am a fan of CDBG, and you guys do fantastic work. And if that isn't totally clear, I'll be happy to do a little dance of joy for you. But so I had a couple of questions. One was like, for example, the max hail is 30% AMI is the cap, otherwise ELI. And for the weatherization, 50% AMI is the cap. Or it has to be 50% of area median income or below.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering why these differences among the projects.
I will calendar after that one, but I would assume that it's set by. I would assume that their limit's set by HUD or by federal government for specific purpose.
That would be,
Yeah.
that would be really great. And then my other thing was, how do you assess the success of a program?
They are required, all of our projects are required to submit quarterly reports. And we have data that we are required to submit to HUD on an annual basis. And then we also have a progress report that we have to submit every year, which goes into the number of people served, demographics, all that good stuff. And should we not spend down our funds efficiently, we get flags for that. So yes, I'm very much familiar with them and they are with me. So we talk a lot.
I'm just imagining how many rooms we'd have to dedicate to filing cabinets if we hadn't gone to more paperless work. That was really all I had to say, except for great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so this is a public hearing. So we just have one public hearing for this, correct? Okay.
Do we take action right after it, or do we?
Yes, we do. We take action. So we will have a discussion and we'll take action afterwards. Which actually I was thinking about items A7, A8. Do we have two public hearings for those or one? For A7 and A8? The
two public hearings on A8, one public hearing on A7. No,
are we taking any action on A7? Okay, that gets wrapped up in two. Okay, so this is the first of two for A8, the only one required for A7. No action taken after those, but there is action taken for A9. Got it. Okay, back on track.
Is there discussion for A7 and A8?
I would like to suspend discussion for A8 because there is going to be a second public hearing. I'm agnostic about having discussion on A7. I mean, I think we probably could, but we're not. Well, I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate because we're taking action on this at a later point in time. So, council, I think we should. What are your thoughts on that? Because this is going to get wrapped up in our entire budget approval process.
Normally, we just receive public comment. We're gonna vote on it another meeting.
I would prefer it that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for, let's clarify that before we get into the meeting. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lynham. Next up, we have, I love your presentations, Mr. Jackson. You're coming to us like every other week almost. Oh my gosh, we have, wait a minute.
It's blank. Oh.
And this is why I love his presentation. Look at what he's done. And they have keys on them. Awesome. Okay, so here to present on the overview of the 2024 Comprehensive Plan Economic Development Element. That's fun to say. See, this is why it's fun. We have Planning Manager Garrett Jackson, to present on item A10. This is under general business for a full presentation to receive public comment only. So now is our discussion time after this presentation. The next meeting will be public comment only, as we've been doing with his updates. Okay, Mr. Jackson, take it away.
Before I get started on the economic development element, I just wanted to talk to the council about district digests, the draft EIS, and how we're going to be working community meetings. Just to start off, share my screen here. For anyone who goes to Bremerton2044.com, we do have the individual council flyers for district meetings posted for upcoming dates once they're available to staff. And if you scroll down, we also have each one of the district digests available here for the council and public. And BCAT has been helping us with these videos, giving us the condensed versions of the presentations we've been giving to council every week, and last week's housing element is already up. So just wanted to share that. For this board that you see here behind you, BCC has some of these visual aid boards for the council district meetings, so that people can peruse the different alternatives, alternative 1, 2, and 3, and what the differences are between them. So if you don't have an opportunity to have a PowerPoint, we'll have these boards, whether there's a PowerPoint or not, and we plan on having printout of the district digests at each district meeting for your constituents. So for the remaining council members that don't have a meeting set yet, we'll be happy to work with you, whether you want to have an individual council meeting or you want to team up and have a joint district meeting with other council members. So that being said, you can move on.
And just note that this board that's a sample, it's just District 1 board. We have a board for every district. So you're gonna look at this and go, well, where's my territory? We have a board for you. It's just in the back. Look how large they are. We didn't want to bring them all in here too.
You just knew I'd be super excited about your presentation, so you brought mine.
Yeah.
It's next week. Yeah. Number 1. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to economic development, we'll let people know at home that all of our documents are on Bremerton2044.com, and then transition into that standard review that I will spare council for tonight, where we talk about what a comp plan is, jurisdictional review centers, growth strategy, and that we have those videos available on Bremerton2044.com. Going into what council has reviewed thus far. And then just the topics of conversation that we'll be bringing up with the economic development element presentation. What the vision is, adopted growth targets, downtown region center market study, sound industrial center market study, and draft environmental impact statement alternatives. And then just giving the public and the council heads up that we have been coordinating with KEDA, Chamber of Commerce, KBA, Kitsap County Association of Realtors, Port of Bremerton, Downtown Business Association, Charleston Business District, and Net Business Association, and that we did send a postcard out for the DEIS to every business in city limits. We will be trying to get a hold of those same organizations during the DEIS period to see if they'd like to. It's just the basic vision from Puget Sound Regional Council for their regional economic goals. I don't think council would want me to read that here necessarily, And then council once again has seen our vision, goals, and policies for all of the elements of the comprehensive plan. And this is the economic development elements. Vision, growth targets are set by the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council. And here are the adopted targets for each jurisdiction within Kitsap County.
The top right, because Councilor Fry's Zoom square is obscuring it. Can you just read that to us?
We don't have any way to move the square over, do we?
I can't see it from mine either, but it's what the increase in the number is.
2044
2044.
employment growth.
Okay. Yeah, so here's the growth that's expected, the difference between the 2020 census, the amount we're going to grow, and then the overall employment target. Okay.
For the addition.
And then the percentage by which each jurisdiction is supposed to increase by.
Jeez.
So Bremerton being the clear,
Winner.
clearly, yeah, at nearly 33%. The next being the Silverdale UGA, and then the city of Port Orchard. Jeez.
Wait, can you go back there?
Sure.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No trouble.
32.4%?
Yeah. Who comes up with these numbers?
Puget Sound Regional
Yeah.
Council, and then it is adopted by KRCC.
But that does not seem fair. That because we have to give all kinds of tax incentives to get people to build that many buildings, and not one other jurisdiction in Kitsap County is giving tax incentives like that to developers. And so it's just not fair that we have to take on that many.
There's a more complete breakdown among that can be.
How much more complete? We go
Okay,
back?
let's take it, okay. So is now the appropriate time to talk about that, or should we talk about that? Because we can't control what the Puget Sound Regional Council,
But we're part of the KCCR or whatever.
KRCC.
Yeah.
They adopt the policies of yes, so, it's just the protocol, of how things get adopted. And so they
These
use,
were also adopted by the city council. So they are,
When?
I would have to look up the exact date on that, but
Probably 2022. Right. So the KRCC adopts all of the growth targets for both employment and population. And then KRC passes that, and then it's ratified by all the jurisdictions. So this has been adopted at KRCC, at the county, and then ratified by the city of Bremerton and all the cities within jurisdiction.
What happens if we fail to meet that target?
It's a target, this is what, an aspiration, there is no measurement if it comes to reality or not, but we have to have all the zoning and regulations in place to make sure that this can.
and just, I mean, there's a lot of data points that are taken to come up with that number. And so some of the organizations that collect that data, can you give us a little overview of how?
So Washington State has demographers, and all of the growth targets are established at the state through the Office of Financial Management of the state of Washington. And then there's demographers that work for PSRC, and all those growth targets are basically allocated from the state to each of the regions established to their local regional governments like KRCC, and then they're cut up from there to each of the jurisdictional authorities of the cities of the different counties. So,
And is the demographer data shared from the state to the county to the, state to the regional to the county?
So when we looked at the 30-something% growth.
We'll go to you
that's-
next, Denise.
That was 30% of the growth that was happening. We're not growing by 30%, right? So when I participated in an exercise, and I don't know if it was the final, or if it was just thought, we literally used Lego pieces up at Island Lake. Maybe it was when I was planning commission, and they're like, okay, this is the pile, and it's like, okay, well, we'll take some, and but we're the biggest city, and so we're taking the biggest percentage of that 100%. So
With the highest, proposed density, right? So.
that being said, once you get for presentation, this doesn't really require any zoning changes to accommodate.
Okay.
So, while we had to change for housing, because we didn't have, zoning didn't accommodate the amount of housing that's projected, the amount of jobs is a different story.
I want to hear from Councilor Fry really quick, and then I'd love to move on through your presentation. Councilor Fry or Denise.
Yes, my understanding is that these numbers are almost a science. And it's not like somebody says, oh, let's just dump them all in Bremerton. You know, it's where the employment is, it's where the transportation is, it's where possibly the opportunity is. And I just think we need to be careful as we move along, but acknowledge that I at least I do feel comfortable with these numbers, and I think we're already on a good track to get there and be mindful of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that all these people that are coming in are low income or anything like that. It's that we will see the largest growth, and to prepare for that. So I think challenging that at this point, I think this has been coming for a while. So
Thank you.
certainly clarifying it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarifying question.
Okay, one clarifying question.
So do these figures of employment and population include the shipyard?
They do.
They do. Thank you.
And just to, I mean, that percentage increase is listed in tonight's packet, and we have included it with every planning commission packet. It always opens with that same opening statement that the city's population and jobs are due to increase by these percentage points. So it should.
You have told us many a time.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I'd love to see the rest of your presentation. Always excited for these, so thank you.
For the downtown regional center, just letting everybody know that the market study is available at bremerton2044.com. And then we just have a couple of interesting slides here from that market study. One showing that there was a lot of development downtown in the early 2000s. When the recession came, everything really flattened out. And while numbers for office and retail have stayed relatively flat, the amount of the square footage for multifamily residential has gone up substantially. That 2016 number, 2017, you can look at that and think that's the Spyglass coming online. And then the other multifamily projects going to that leap at the end in the square.
There are a few others in between.
So what you're saying is that we should be trending at the same rate as multifamily residential, that maybe retail and office should be trending at the same way to accommodate the needs of the, to make it a walkable city, right?
Well, we had a Tiana Klein, Brad Scott was the planning commission, and relayed at the time that there was a surplus of office and retail space in downtown. So as that population increases, then the need for services will increase also. And I think that first, what is more likely to be seen is that you will backfill those vacancies as the population increases before you may see increases in actual office or retail square footage. But that's for the markets to decide.
Okay. Can't find a place to buy socks or underwear, then.
The Mercantile.
Amazon, Mercantile. All right, Amazon. Yeah. Thank
And
you.
another interesting factoid about the downtown economy, as it compares to Kitsap County, it is in the amount of storefront retail and office and storefront business that's present downtown. You'll see downtown represented in purple and Kitsap County represented in blue, where over 50% of the economy downtown is, like I said, storefront retail and storefront, while Kitsap County, nearly 50% is freestanding. So
That also known as vehicle centered.
I think that would be appropriate. Right, so that these storefront businesses are either part of a mixed-use building or connected to
Which
other
one?
buildings.
Say that again.
Freestanding is vehicle centered, like a Staples, for example.
Or Lowe's.
Yeah, it's a
Like you did.
standalone commercial building that's not connected to another structure.
Gotcha.
So that does denote the more rural type of development pattern that you would see in Kitsap County as opposed to the city of Bremerton downtown, where you see more storefront retail. And lastly, just a reminder that the Downtown Regional Center also includes naval-based KidSat. That's part of the PSRC designated boundary that includes the shipyard. And we have been in coordination with NDK, updated numbers for their employment, and that the market study needs to be updated to include their most recent numbers. So we'll be working on that. And that the market study also recommends that we adopt some anti-displacement mitigation measures, which BCC and legal are working on. And that we advocate for KidSat Transit, high capacity transit service in the future.
Displacement for residential and commercial?
For displacement for residential and commercial. So yeah, I mean, we're working on the residential portion for now, but there are some measures that we'll be looking to PSRC for commercial.
You know, the interesting thing about when you look at the base, like there's a lot of work and employment that happens on the east side, but almost everybody who lives on the base lives on the west. Like it's not an easy thing to just like walk from the housing that's on the Navy base to the downtown.
Right.
They're more likely to walk to
Charleston.
the Charleston area. So in just even on the folks live aboard the ships on the west
Right.
side, and but the work happens on the right side.
Is an interesting thing, District 5.
Yeah.
And
It's District 4 after the shipyard.
More people live in District 3.
And the Puget Sound Industrial Center market study, also available, Bremerton2044.com. And primarily this market study was required per PSRC. There are a number of requirements to maintain our manufacturing industrial center status with PSRC, and the city is meeting those by and large, with the exception of minimum existing jobs. So a manufacturing industrial center needs to have a minimum existing 4,000 jobs in order to maintain that status. Currently, Puget Sound Industrial Center does not have that minimum number of jobs, so we're required to go through this market study exercise. Currently, there's around 1,700 existing jobs, with closer to 2,800 if you count jobs that are based in PSIC, but that perform that work elsewhere. Key findings from that market study are that we should encourage naval-based KidSat to consider developing PSIC as SIOP continues. That there be updated sub-area plan regulations for development standards. The market study met with local property owners and businesses for their feedback, and they had some suggestions for the sub-area plan. Those have all been implemented into the draft sub-area plan update. So that portion of the market study has been implemented, just needs to be adopted. And prioritize and fund infrastructure expansion. And this is a large part of it's been holding PSIC back from getting larger employment numbers is the lack of wastewater infrastructure. There's a number of options available, and those are going to be analyzed with the wastewater comp plan update. So that's something that they will be looking at to bring to the city council. And then just referencing naval-based KidSat as an important part of our economy. The council has seen this previously, but even among our peer jurisdictions that have a large share of federal employment, that KidSat far exceeds our peer federal employment institutions, including Washington, D.C., Norfolk, Honolulu, and others, as a share of our overall employment. So it can't be overemphasized how important naval-based KidSat is to our economy. And that is only going to be more so as the shipyard infrastructure optimization program progresses. You'll see up here a map of a map of potential improvements at naval-based Kitsap, including a potential new multi-mission dry dock for a new aircraft carrier and submarine fleet. The Navy has already announced that they are going to be needing over 10,000 square feet of office space and over 250,000 square feet of warehouse space. In March of 23, a nearly $50 million contract was awarded for the design of the new multi-mission dry dock. Just this month, a contract was awarded for $145 million for electrical upgrades through 2029. And while we don't have cost estimates yet for what that new multi-mission dry dock will cost, a more modest dry dock that was recently constructed or is under construction in Pearl Harbor has an estimated cost of $3.4 billion, and it's creating 2,500 local jobs.
Permanent local jobs?
No, that will last through the SIOP period.
And what is the PSYOP period, do we know?
We do not know. The Navy's preferred alternative should be coming out before the end of the year, and we will know more at that time.
And do we have the capacity for the square footage needed in some of our empty buildings? We've talked about what to do with underutilized space, is that what we called it? So do we have capacity within our downtown core?
And the Tim Ryan building is a great example.
Right.
Where 300 new employees will be, for the first time, fully occupying that beautiful building. And so when Tiana Kleinhoff also, when she addressed the Planning Commission, she did say that the Navy has some fairly specific requirements for naval offices.
Yeah.
Some structures downtown may not be able to meet that.
Right.
So I don't have the market knowledge to know, as far as existing structures and whether they can accommodate the Navy, but I'm sure we'll see that play out.
It'll be interesting to see where we have capacity for that amount of square footage needed within our downtown core. Denise?
Yeah.
Denise, go right ahead.
Yeah, Garrett, you know that I'm interested in the intersection between the role of the city and the role that port and others in all of this. And I think that both of these areas that we're focusing on downtown, but I'm really interested in the Puget Sound Industrial Center. And how do we work closely enough with the port and others? What department's responsible? What is our role in that?
So we have regular meetings with the Port of Bremerton staff to discuss ongoing development and any kind of implementation measures that are needed to make sure that permits are being issued on time. It's really just to check in to see how each jurisdiction is doing. So we work pretty closely and have a good relationship with the Port of Bremerton. I know that KEDA is in the middle of an industrial lands analysis that's going to include the Puget Sound Industrial Center. So more information to come once KEDA has that plan wrapped up also.
And the other reason that it interests me, of course, is that, when you look at a map, it's really pretty close to the housing development and everything that's going on kind of north of it, right?
Yeah, now that new housing is available off of Warner Road, we expect that, that is a potential place for residents of Keesick. We do have a map in the market study that shows typically where Keesick residences live.
And would that be in proximity as well to Pendergast Park by any chance?
No, that doesn't show up that way in our data.
No.
Typically,
Okay.
That's more in the city of Port Orchard, Burley area.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then just moving into our draft environmental impact alternatives. Alternative 1, once again, being existing conditions, and alternative 2 and 3 being fairly similar. So this is an instance where our existing zoning still provided for that number of jobs that was projected and didn't need to be altered very much. The differences between those are shown here on the left, and that each alternative results in a surplus of job capacity. The real difference is that the Bay Vista sub-area plan, a zone within Bay Vista, is proposed to go to mixed use. So whereas that zone used to only account for a number of jobs, there's been a split applied for residential and jobs that's lowered the amount of job capacity that's possible in that zone or estimated for it. And then in PSIC, there is an applicant request for a mixed use overlay within the industrial center. And so the number of housing units for PSIC would increase, but the number of jobs would decrease under alternative 3. So those are the differences between those alternatives.
Just to make sure, Garrett, the alternatives 2 and 3 here directly correspond to the same 2 and 3 center-based versus citywide
That's
options there. Yeah,
that's correct.
Okay.
I can make sure that that's apparent during next week's presentation.
so maybe the under 2 and 3 do the citywide versus district based or center based. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have a Bay Vista. Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I have a Bay Vista question. So there's a proposal, right now Bay Vista is basically 100% residential, is that correct?
No,
Because it's the sub area, except for Winco. And Carl's Jr.
and the fire department, and sorry, gosh.
PCHS.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
They are constructing a campus there.
Slowly, yes, because that's
We
how
have building
construction
permits
is.
in.
Yeah. And it's just,
They're
that's how
not.
construction is.
Mhm.
So other than that, it's, can we call it largely residential?
Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry.
So the mixed use alteration would result in more commercial development, is that correct? Or more residential development?
Right now, residential is not an allowed use. So by having a mix,
What?
right now in that zone of Bay Vista, the
okay.
village commercial zone,
Okay,
residential is not an allowed use. So by adding mixed use, you would add a residential allowance, but there would still need to be a commercial.
got it.
Is this because that, I remember the original plan for that Bay Vista was to have like a pretty good sized retail area, but then I think Winco took up so much of it that it sort of, is this kind of the change from that to revert some of it
I
to
think
mixed?
the idea behind it was that for village commercial, that people could live and work within walking distance. And that was the urban planning goal.
The 15-minute city.
So, but that
I love
being
the
said,
15-minute
the market
city.
is supporting residential development. And we have a letter of support from the property owner. It's a SAP credit union to allow for multifamily mixed use residential here. So with those few properties left, we're trying to address the remaining, needs of Bay Vista.
Thank you.
So my question ties on PSIC. I perked up when you said changing industrial zone area to allow mixed use. Is that a controversial suggestion?
It is to me.
The reason why I bring that up is I'm familiar with the city of Tacoma, the port of Tacoma, down in the Tide Flats. And the port of Tacoma wanted to reserve that area for industrial use because when you have encroachment by residents, all of a sudden, after the residents get entrenched there, they complain about the noise in the industrial area. And so all I'm saying is we need to be careful. Okay.
Can I just weigh in here? That alternative 3 is every request we receive from the outside. So it had to be considered and evaluated. So everything that we got. So I guess what I'm here to say is that it isn't something that staff has supported moving forward. Planning Commission has not supported it because we received an application it had to be put into an alternative. So
Okay, fair
what I'm
enough.
here to just put your fears at rest is that it's not likely to move forward because of the things that you identified. Conflict of noise, conflict of uses. There's the airport that has these overlay zones for building heights and other kinds of things. So there's plenty of reasons not to do it, but because there was an application, it had to be put into an alternative.
It's been pointed out in the planning commission packets and in the DEIS, those may be incompatible uses.
One thing that I haven't seen in the comp plan yet is how we're planning for public safety with all this growth. I'm not aware that we have any land set aside for additional fire or additional police, and the police are running out of room in the building they're in now. I really would not want to see any residential that far out, because right now we really should have another zone for the police to be driving through every day. Like there's some areas that we might be lucky if they're there twice a day, right? So
We're talking about.
by going for all this growth all over the place, like even up the top of Warner Road, that to me is more like sprawl. Even though it's in the city limits, it's like in order to keep our services less costly.
Oh, you're all the way up there.
There is a DEIS level of service that's identified for fire east with projected numbers that are needed to support that increase in population. So just it's not unaccounted for is all that.
And that's like critical to me. I don't know how we don't have enough police and fire now. And when we have that many more people spread out in all these little urban growth areas or, at the top of the Werner Road, I don't know how we're going to pay for that.
That's another reason that there aren't any new residential zoning areas that are identified. These are all carried over from the 2016 comp plan before. And the lion's share of any new growth that's proposed is proposed to be downtown, where you can have a more condensed service area for police.
So I just want to pause for a moment. You guys were kind of stopping me from having this basically, are we talking about the PSIC or are we talking about Bay Vista area? Because you're kind of going back and forth between the two for consideration, but I'm wondering, do we need to discuss this any further? Or B, do we need to have a proposed alternative that we support? Or either one of those, but let's quickly have that conversation. Should we still talk about this or is there one that we should support?
At any commission will be identifying a preferred alternative to recommend the city council. So when that happens, you'll be seeing that.
So we'll wait for the planning commission recommendation to discuss our preferred alternative. Anna and then Jeff. Wait, actually Denise first, go right ahead, and then Anna and then Jeff.
Thanks, everybody. I'm having trouble with my video, so that's why I cut it out. We've been talking about this a lot at Public Safety, and I'm still not clear with how we start estimating these things with Public Safety. But I'm also gonna trust the process a little bit on this. And as we move along through it, I know that there's a special element of the comprehensive plan that deals with services and that type of thing. So I guess with Jane bringing that up here too, I think that's just something staff should be prepared for, to kind of dial in on that a little bit with us. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and we will be bringing the city services out to the city council. I believe that's the
That was transportation.
maybe the same, but I can get back to you.
Okay. And we have ILAs that do cover some emergency services out in PSIC. I mean, don't we with
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Fire, yes, but I don't know about these.
county? I'm sure I feel like we do. So Denise, as we move forward with this discussion at another time after we hear from the planning commission. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if this was on the radar for public safety. Find out what kind of ILAs we have with that region, just so we can be educated.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Please go right ahead.
We had questions?
Did you still have questions, or you want to wait
Yes.
till the planning
Well, it's
commission?
questions now, so.
Oh, questions now. Perfect. Okay.
yeah.
Anna, Jeff?
So, is there a single portion of the comp plan where the issue that Jane brought up and which others of us have brought up at different times can be addressed, which is that our development is supposed to be maximizing density, and yet it certainly looks like sprawl. So is that housing or land use? I'm obviously not the economic development, but what part or parts of the comp plan would it be possible for us to say, if we should say, that we want to maximize density because it improves the efficiency of transportation, it improves the efficiency, like people will go to market centers rather than to go to an isolated place. It improves the provision of public safety, and it improves the ability of emergency responders to get somebody to medical care, just off the top of my head.
So that being said, I think that for what's being called urban sprawl isn't being
Right.
used correctly if you're part of the state.
Okay, sure.
The Growth Management Act designates urban areas in Washington state where urban development is allowed to occur. And that's in cities and in urban growth areas. So I can include this in a future presentation too. I have a map of Washington state, and it includes an area that has some color identifying where UGAs are located. It's a very small fraction of the state. So urban development has been planned to occur in UGAs and cities. And while someone might look into their backyard and see development occurring, on a statewide level, the development is occurring in this urban growth area so that it protects rural areas that are already designated. So I understand if within our jurisdiction, there's some concerns on the council on maintaining tree levels and urban services.
Yep.
We do plan for those in the comprehensive plan with level of service for each individual city service. But just that point of clarification if you have further questions.
Well, I thank you, and I've learned a great deal from your answer, but it didn't answer my question, which is, even if we are using the term urban sprawl incorrectly, which is entirely possible, not our field of expertise, what we are seeing is development widely separated from other dense centers. We are not seeing like accretion of density. Like, for example, we don't see Charleston being people like setting up development around Charleston to make it a more dense area. What we see is things happening at the top of Warner Road. We see things happening at wide distances, and that makes using public transit or walkability both problematic, if not nearly impossible. So just to be brief, because I can feel Jennifer behind me saying, be brief.
Well, I just want to, I have a counterpoint to your point though, that I would love to. I know
Yeah,
you
so
wanna
I'd
get-
just like to get an
Feel
answer
free.
to this question, and then I'm happy to keep moving.
Sure, and that's why we allow for a variety of housing types in the city. Right now, the market may be supporting single-family homes, and so that's being constructed where that's allowed. But that being said, also, I believe even at the residential area at the end of Warner, I think it's still less than a 15-minute drive to downtown. So how far away these things are is kind of relative. And I know that Kitsap Transit is planning a park and ride over in the freeway corridor area where you could use transit options.
Pardon me, I beg your pardon.
So while we have populations that are growing, our services are growing with them. And I understand your point that, I'm an urban planner. I love density. But as far as, where we can create housing now, I guess that's a conversation for the city council.
Okay, third and last time. So which elements of the comp plan would be addressing this density?
So I'm not sure, the land use section, for our land use mapping,
Okay.
zoning that we've gone through, that
Okay.
it assigns density and the land use map.
And that would,
And I think also, just to add to that, it's the selection of the alternatives that we have before us. Do we spread growth out and have it in every area of the city? Or do we concentrate new growth in the center? And so what I'm hearing you say is that you are bending toward alternative two, is what you're saying. And so it's the selection of the alternatives, and the alternatives is everything combined. So is there one spot to answer your question that this is where you have to debate? There is no clear answer to that. So you're asking a question that's kind of quintessential to the overall comp plan and what the alternatives are before you. So alternative two is what you're speaking to.
I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah.
Thank
Jeff?
you, Andre. Thank you, Director Spencer.
Thanks. No, excellent questions. Gary, do you mind going back to the table that had all the employment numbers added up?
And then Jane after Jeff. Yeah.
No, I didn't, to James' remark earlier on the number of employment, but I did want to point out that.
Screen sharing is stopped.
Oh, no.
Okay. See if I can give it back to you. Yeah, I made you the co-host.
Yeah.
Sorry, my robot's not
No.
cooperating.
You have a robot?
Well, while he's loading that up, I did want to mention, in terms of the
Uh-oh.
questions of all the numbers coming down. So PSRC has Vision 2040, and they have a big PDF, which was the initial planning document, which then went to KRCC, and similarly on the KRCC website, there is a nice document that walks through all the countywide numbers coming from PSRC. So if folks want to kind of go back and look at that development, I think it's all documented there. Let me go. Okay, so I got that. And then there was, I guess, the next slide. Yeah, one more.
Because these are the targets.
I mean, for the DEIS.
Maybe that was it. Yeah, the long vertical table. Sorry,
Oh, the one
remember
with the residential or the retail?
that's the one.
There we
Okay.
go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So, no, I thought
We've been looking at it.
Jane had an excellent point at first of, wow, that's a lot of employment in the city, right, we're taking on. But I think 2/3 are in the P6, which, yeah, it's city limits, but it's not, exactly downtown. But then I wanted to check in here, so we mentioned the Navy is factored into that number of job growth, but is that
Not this one.
not shown in here? Okay.
This is just what we have to do with our.
This is just inside. So this is 14,000 for non-shipyard. And that's combining with how much to get to the total?
No, I'm sorry. So that,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
so once we get to these, sorry, my cursor, but listens here. So once we get to these subtotals, I believe, no, but this is just the city. Yeah, I need to look back on how that interplays with the Navy's numbers.
Okay.
This is just capacity, right? Not reality.
This is right. This is just a planning figure where we see, as far as city services that are available, this number. And once again, our existing zoning is sufficient for this number of jobs. Just in terms of land use, utilities, city services, jobs.
Okay. That's fine. If you're able to, clarify the 16,000 or so plus whatever was from the Navy. Yeah. I'm grabbing that. The only question I had was on talking about the process and trusting it. So let's like, I'm just gonna throw out a silly hypothetical, but let's say like council goes gaga for alternative 3, except not making, PSIC, having the multi-use component in it. Possible for us eventually to get to the place where we tweak the alternative, where say, yep, that's what we think fits best. Walk me through how we get there from here to,
Really wouldn't be that hard. I mean, the differences between 2 and 3 are some property owner requests that don't really fit in with the center's approach. So if the city council wanted to choose alternative 3, all of our level of service plan for 2 and 3, because the differences are so slight, 2 and 3 are planned for the same for city services. So because the difference between those populations and job numbers are so
there'll be a discussion ultimately where we may have, okay, we like 2, we like 3, but we have these small tweaks. We can work with that. But if we like one of those, but oh gosh, we have this huge large tweak we want to do, right? I guess I'm getting at what point does,
and we really need our utility professional. We need to know what the council is thinking, and then we need our utility professionals here to see how large of a change. I mean, they've run the numbers on transportation, water, wastewater, and so to put any large change might be an expensive alternative to them to rerun their model.
Think about it this way, we've set the bookcase with what's here on the maps and what you're seeing in the presentation. You have to choose from the material in the book. If you want to go off book, that's something far bigger that can't be done. You can choose any of these options based on the bookshelf that's before. That makes sense?
yes, makes total sense. I just wanted to throw that out there for us to keep in our heads as we go down this road. And if we get public feedback on, that are large changes from the public that they might want to see, kind of say.
And that's why this
too much
process has been slow and deliberate, is to make sure that the public is aware and develop this plan slowly. So it would push up.
Jane,
Do we know what percentage of shipyard employees live in Bremerton? Okay, I think that's a really important thing for us to know, because we have all these jobs that are supposedly coming here. But if you look at Gorse traffic, a lot of the shipyard workers don't want to live in Bremerton. So why should we build housing for them?
We have this number, if I can jump in, because when we toured last year, they gave us a nice presentation that broke down where the shipyard lived, and I have 50% in my head. But
wasn't it?
That's
Compatibility.
It's in the JCTP. Okay, I'll look at that up. And then
And I'm sorry if I misspoke, do we have that number? We do not.
all right, I'll find out the number.
I'm happy to look that up. Yeah.
Okay, and then my other big question is, can we change the outlines of the UGA? A lot of the land in the UGAs really isn't suitable for building. Like if you look at Enitai, and I mean, somebody bought it to build on it, but should lands like that really be in an urban growth area? And it's the same thing around Gorse. I mean, should that be part of our urban growth area?
Decision in December, so I would wonder if what kind of actions city council. It's not something the planning staff as far as sizing.
So that the county gets to decide what our UGAs are. And so we have a process to concur, so we can say, no, we don't want this as part of the UGA.
The UGAs that have been established, they've been established for a very long time. So there's a couple of the proposals that actually City of Bremerton asked to be added. So there's an area just north of Gazette Lake, because we have sewer service in the area, an area south of Gazette Lake. We've asked to add to the UGA because we want to have complete jurisdictional authority around the lake and with all the city's utilities there. we asked for some addition to the UGA. There's been other UGA additions that, minor tweaks right near the PSIC that we've supported. And, but any other requests for UGA, we haven't gotten on it. So if the UGA is established, the county has done that and we can't modify it. There's been a couple of places I'll tell you we've advocated for adding to UGA, especially around the So
Okay, and we don't have an annexation plan of any kind, right? At this time?
we do not have any annexations underway. We have a tool that's available that people can go online to take a look at if the annexation makes sense to them, if they want to come in.
Oh, I'm not saying they're asking us, I'm saying we're telling them because we've already given them utility services.
And the annexation law in the state of Washington, largely the control is at the property owner's decision to annex. So that's
So why are we giving them water?
we provide them water, and you've seen the process if they request sewer service of what, if we, we basically have to annex it, that's where there has to be an exception given to them if they don't want sewer infrastructure.
So all we can do is provide incentives. Sorry to interrupt.
And that this is in an urban growth area, and that this is one of the few places in Washington state where this housing can be built. And so, that these areas are in our water and sewer service area. So.
Eric, any questions? Yeah, a couple just,
I have
go
an
ahead.
observation, just historically, people are all panicked about these numbers. Sitting here and listening to this, and I can recall, believe it or not, around 2001 or so, we had these discussions about growth and, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, how are we gonna handle all this? I want to say our population was between 38,000 and 40,000 at the time, depending on if a ship was in. And
I feel like that.
now we're looking at 44,000 now, 20 years later. Just relax. I don't, and look at the PSIC numbers. The only wild card I could see is this base build out. Other than that, PSIC, Puget Sound, whatever you want to call it now, used to be whatever it used to be called. It's that. Skia, thank you. It hasn't met expectations ever.
No.
So don't think it's all of a sudden, again, the wild card, I guess, would be the Navy and their bill up. I don't see, whatever, maybe it happens. But we got the sewer limitation. How many hundreds of millions of dollars in roads is that going to cost? We don't have the money for that. I don't care what your demographers say. It's not going to happen. More likely than not, it's not going to happen. That's just based on the history of this area. And
Thank you, Eric.
don't
we don't
rain on everybody's
incentivize.
parade that thinks we're going to be this big growth magnet. There will be growth, but I think not like that.
I'm gonna write down that you said that because
That's fine.
No,
Discussion.
and thank you, Eric.
A couple of
I'm with you. I've been here for a while. I haven't seen the numbers grow as much. This is capacity. This is capacity. This is like a target, right? So we have this kind of capacity.
And that, if I could add, that's the exercise before us. We have to demonstrate that we have the capacity. For
Right.
growth. The reality is that the market conditions will drive whether or not it happens. But we are under state law that we have to show the capacity for the growth. And that's what these alternatives are showing or not showing. In the case of alternative one, when it comes to housing, we're not meeting it. Alternative one needs the satisfaction for economic development, but is that the right way to go? We will be choosing that.
Thank you. Couple follow-up questions. I'm super curious about the Harrison Heights employment capacity, where it feels pretty high for that area, but maybe it's because there's so many. The capacity is in the buildings that are currently existing there. But what about the economy of that area? I guess I'm confused why it's 2,700, 2,770.
There was a separate analysis done for that sub-area plan, where there was an environmental impact analysis that looked at what was the capacity for jobs in Harrison Heights. And that was the number that our consultants came to.
That was a rare.
And it also.
What industries are there that are?
It also had market analysis. So it had economic part of it in conjunction with the apartment. So the economist looked at it and said, if you do the following things, here's what the likely capacity would be in conjunction with what we would do.
Okay, all right.
Because
So
it's
it's
part
just,
of the redevelopment, it's part of the redevelopment as well as what's there, correct? So if we
the
go into,
plan.
right, if we go into the housing with the, you know, retail and all of that, that adds more jobs. Is that-
Okay,
is
so it's a
that-
target. Going back to, and that'd be great if it comes to fruition. You have to have those plans in place. I just, I would love to see that area grow, but I don't see it growing to that capacity. So to Eric's point, I mean, you know, there'll be some growth, in that area, but, and I just
Well,
wanted to put
I
it out.
believe in it. I believe in it as the district.
Oh, it's not that I don't believe in it. I mean, this is an exercise in demonstrating capacity.
Coke, not Kool-Aid.
Oh, God.
I don't drink Kool-Aid, Eric.
You know what? We can let Denise drink. We can let Denise be optimistic for all of us. You know, that's okay. I just wanted to put it out there. I totally understand the idea of supporting density. I also want to say that some people don't want to live right, you know, 2 feet away from their neighbors. Some people don't want to live in apartments, and I appreciate that we have the option of developing the PSIC area. It's not ski anymore, it's PSIC. That's what we're calling it now. It's okay. So I appreciate that option.
Something else next.
Well, okay, well, that area, I appreciate that we're having options, you know. We'll see if any development does happen out there. It's mixed. Okay, so re-explain that to me. So mixed use out in PSIC, you don't think it's gonna fly? Okay, all right. You don't think it's gonna fly? Okay, all right. Well, okay. I think it'd be great to have more housing out there near where the industry is going to be growing, but I don't have a whole story, do I? Okay, that's all I have to say. So thank you. Any other questions, council, before we pack this one in, pack it up and send it off to public hearing next week?
2 weeks. Give
2 weeks?
Give next week off.
Oh, that's right, we do. We do indeed. In 2 weeks, November 6th. Wow, November 6th. Okay. All right, I think, Mr. Jackson, we appreciate your time. Appreciate you bringing these alternatives for District 1 here for us to preview ahead of our joint council district meeting. And that closes all of our agenda briefings, all of our public hearings. Now we'll go to general council business. This is about 5 minutes each, including Q&A. So Public Works Committee Chair Jane Rybalowski, do you have a summary for the last meeting held on the October 15th?
Yes, let's see. There were 2 different requests for sewer service in UGA areas that are not contiguous to the city limits, which we'll be discussing more at a study session. We talked about the grant that Katie did today, wayfinding signs. They're coming in so inexpensively that it's under the mayor's purview to sign for the first batch of signs, so it won't be coming to council, but they are gonna start being installed. Kitsap Way planning study is coming to us November 13th at the study session and 20th for public comment, so that we can adopt or not adopt or adjust the Kitsap Way planning study. We had a long discussion on basically why city staff has got concerns about having any protected bike lanes in the city. Most of it was maintenance and operations issues about snow and sweeping and Amazon trucks not having a place to park. We have protected bike lanes. So I'll leave it at that. Had a big conversation about the 11th and Washington project where currently the the contractor doesn't always have a pedestrian access route in place because of all the gravel. It has to be firm enough that somebody can roll a wheelchair or
Right.
stroller over. Some days it is and some days it's not. And then we asked if level of stress is being evaluated at intersections the way level of service is. Level of service is for cars, stress is for pedestrians and bike riders. And it is not. Only at intersections itself, they are only measuring service, period. So those were the highlights of the Public Works Committee.
Thank you. Audit Committee Chair Anna Mockler, summary of the last meeting held on October 21st.
Well, if not the shortest audit committee ever, it was a contender. Basically, Auditor Sims is continuing to work on the cost benefit analysis of the using Impart versus doing it in-house. And there was a very brief discussion about other intangible, non-financial reasons to bring it in-house. For example, coordination with public safety. But she is doing comparables around the area, the usual suspects. And she's continuing to do that. And when she is finished doing that, she will begin working on the communications manager. And until then, there will be another audit meeting next month.
Okay, fantastic. Finance Investment Parking Committee Chair Michael Goodnow, you had your last meeting October 22nd. I imagine there's not gonna be any more meetings for the rest of the year.
Maybe.
We usually
Maybe.
don't, but
Okay.
we reserve the right to meet
Yeah,
whenever we
whatever you
see fit
want.
with proper notice to the community. First thing we did was we recognized some staff transition.
Yeah.
Mike, I just want to screw about. So you want to give us the rundown real quick?
So, Lauren Ellen was here tonight. You met her. She was our budget analyst when you first met her. Sherry Jackson's last day, who was our treasurer director. The last day is October 31st. She's heading over with Karen. You all remember Karen?
Like,
Budget analyst. I love to call it an opportunity to find a director position. So happy for Sherry. She was offered that job. She accepted it. So Lauren has moved into Sherry's position. She held the Apollo. And Missy Gaines is who we introduced last night. She's a new budget analyst. She comes to us from PV, who's the accounting manager there. Previously worked with Lauren in the city of Palco as the budget finance manager, previous to Lauren being the budget manager in Palco. So she's here. She's been here since last Wednesday. We've got other changes in the department, but that's who we introduced.
Thanks. We
Switches chair.
also went over some loan agreements that I don't have the details on, but and we had a discussion about the Comcast franchise fees and how they support BCAT. We had a discussion about MFTE, and I think that at least Jane and I would be interested in, I think we just keep saying on the retreat, but in the future, having a discussion about this, the kind of the Kitsap AMI versus the Bremerton MI. And I just think we want to understand what that really looked like. So, if we're it's not, it's kind of like ROI, or what's the other term that we were using? But if we're discounting, buildings, like I want to understand what we're getting for the dollar that we're doing, right? Does that make sense? So like, if it's $1 million and we're getting at, one discounted studio, that seems off. Like, just want to kind of have a good understanding, because I don't know if anybody really understands what that looks like. So I want to get a better understanding of that, and maybe have a discussion about adjusting the AMI to local. And like we've seen with a lot of things, Bremerton has the bulk of housing. Bremerton has probably the bulk of
affordable housing issues and homelessness and things like that. So we probably need to make sure it's more centric. Jane might have something to add.
The one thing to add is that we were told that one of the buildings that currently has an 8-year tax exemption is considering moving it to a 20-year tax exemption at the end of their 8 years. So if we're going to discuss the AMI, it's got to be sooner rather than later, because we can't change the rules in the middle of a contract that
So you want to change the rules
before
this one contract?
before any of them do,
Okay.
or new contracts come in.
Process. Because doesn't that go through planning commission? What would be the process if we want to make those changes?
It's just a BMC.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
BMC.
BMC.
We talk about this from time to time. I'm just wondering if
Our goals, yeah.
it's in our goals, so.
This was our discussion yesterday, so
Thank you, Jim.
I'll talk to city attorney, and we'll take a look at the language and see what we would have to do. And then we want to just get some data and we might, I just want to really understand what it is, so.
Okay. I'm looking right at y'all because I feel like we've had this discussion.
Oh, we've
with
had this
you
discussion so many times.
Yeah, but I mean,
We've never completed the discussion. We've talked about talking about it, but we haven't talked
Jane,
about it.
yeah, so Jane, so we have had this discussion, but we haven't always come to a conclusion after that discussion.
I think
We've found information out, like there's certain metrics that we can't change, but there are certain metrics that we can. So it needs to be brought back up.
I just think that we need to look at what that change will actually do for a citizen looking for housing. I just want to really get my head around it. Like, I at least definitely support the program as a concept to build housing units. But then there's a side of it that's like, is it really helping
Right.
the affordable housing aspect? So I just want us to really get it clear. So what I'd like to do is try to get as much information, questions answered for ideally a quick presentation and a discussion, as opposed to like something that's going to be a long process.
And what I appreciate is the lens of, is it worth the money if they're only having one unit? If there's 2 units, if there's 3 and they're getting $1 million a year, we could do a lot more with that money. So, okay.
You got to be careful with the assumption that we would have that money, because there's also you have to realize that the buildings might never been built, and that money is going to come to us when these years roll out. But there's too many things that we don't understand. So give us some time.
Let's bring it up after the budget season.
Is there
Okay, so
a question about what we discussed at finance? Anna.
This was last brought before council in spring 22.
So we're done?
Yeah, that was just
Okay,
the whole
good.
question. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not that person that knows what time at the meeting.
So it gets brought up off the cuff all the time.
But planning brought it.
We had a proposal before you. There was 4 different areas that were going to change.
Yep.
Council chose 2 of the options.
Yep.
And the adjusting the EMI for a Bremerton factor was not adopted. So I suggest if you want to look at stuff, if you roll back to that packet of the information that was presented to the council at that time, just to familiarize.
So I'm mostly interested in getting some data to look at.
do you want this to go through finance first?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And Mike,
You want to reference the meeting that on March 27th,
Okay. And we had a discussion, we came with a recommendation, and that was, it would be nice to see it happen again. So it's gonna happen through finance. You'll let me know when it's happening. Maybe it won't, but
again, it's weird because that's why we might also meet, but we're just going to try to,
gotcha.
we don't necessarily have to have a meeting to start aggregating some of this data.
Had some data that.
Yes, yeah. So, anyways.
Okay, so maybe there'll be a meeting in December.
Okay. No, November.
November, okay.
Yeah. And then we obviously talked about the budget workshop, but we didn't clarify there were snacks provided.
It sounds like we will have pizza and salad.
Okay.
There will be.
So,
All
All
right.
right.
And we're gonna be meeting in your office, right? All right.
Tear that place out.
I heard about that. Okay, Michael, no, you didn't know, I didn't know I was gone. Anna was chairing. So we're gonna be meeting in the mayor's office for our budget workshops. Isn't that nice? It was
We used to
Michael's
do that.
suggestion.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
You have a big screen, Vikings versus Rams.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Did you see what the time was? I don't think the Vikings are starting that early, are they?
5:15 Pacific time.
Yeah, well, the meeting's.
That'll be down in his room.
Hold on a minute. I got a whole spiel about the
done.
budget workshop.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with finance.
You're the
And
best.
scene.
And scene. Okay. Any council member who attended a regional or other committee or board since the last study session? And I would also like to provide us with a brief summary. About 5 minutes or less.
Kitsap Transit, whoa, doom. We're all going to run out of money immediately. I think the most interesting thing that came out of the recent Kitsap Transit was that a bus route is considered to adequately serve an urban area if it is 3/4 of a mile away. Which seems like quite a bit to me.
Ride the bus.
Yeah. That was basically it. We are gearing up for budget at Kitsap Transit, just the way everybody else is. Mayor, am I missing something important? Nope. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff.
KRCC transportation policy. We just finished the 2024 cycle. Bremerton got 11th Street funding. Next one's 2026, so they're starting to review the criteria, so way in advance. The only other item was PSRC had kind of put out this idea of when projects are ranked to take the lowest of them and ensure that they never get funding, because funding becomes available down the road after the process. And I think both Mayor and I and pretty much everyone at the KRCC meeting said, we don't like that. Because
Why would they want to do that?
In my opinion, it was bad statistics, metrics driving the wrong behavior. And anyway, so KRCC will likely be pushing back on that. Saying, no, please, we're not doing that.
Nice.
Otherwise, it was a quick meeting. I got a quick conference summary Place the Walla Walla conference was great. Neat, vibrant downtown they got. They're about 3/4 our size, but it's a really cool, compact, walkable, small business downtown.
Can you remind me the city that you were in?
Walla Walla.
Walla Walla. I know you said, okay.
The city's so nice, they named it twice.
That's
their tagline.
At least they have a vision.
What's neat about it, it was actually the 40th anniversary of Walla Walla's Downtown Association and the 40th anniversary of the Main Street program. So they coincided at the same time. So both having birthdays. But yeah, Walla Walla, because random quick notes, and then I'll send out a summary, and I'm trying to get the slides from a lot of the talks. But essentially, they give a substantial chunk of their LTAC to their downtown association. Have been for 40 years, so they've been funding their downtown association a long time. Obviously, a lot of great talks on historic preservation. We're looking at the very early stage of getting a historic preservation ordinance. Made a lot of good contacts on, and always ask, like, how much staff time do you guys use from different cities? And for the small ones just starting out, it can be a small fraction of a FTE. It's a lot, but some good comparison notes and some people I can tap into. And then interesting talk, like if we're looking down the road after the simple historic preservation ordinance to get some both tax incentives and state funding for things like improving facades, you can down the road go down to a point where Vancouver has done it, a couple of the bigger cities, but you're actually creating historic districts. And what was neat is you can basically define it, and you want to have a coherent kind of story about it, of a time and a place, and these are all from the same time period, and this is why they were all built in all the same style. And in that case, you can get the citizens to 50% plus one voted as a historic district. And then that allows homeowners to get additional property tax incentives and direct funding to help maintain kind of the historic nature of that neighborhood. So that's way down the road compared to where we're at, but it was neat to see what other cities are doing that have been doing this 20 years. And they had a neat fund where money from demolition permit fees would then go back to homeowners for historic preservation. So neat housing there, or neat funding. A whole great session on what Walla Walla is doing for housing, and I thought it was neat because they said we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and it was neat. Bremerton was doing all the same stuff, and so very similar track. And I even threw out the
Nice.
in the comp plan, we're getting away from single versus
Yeah.
other designations, just low, medium, high. So Walla Walla and Bremerton are doing the same thing there.
State law, isn't it?
I don't think that was state
And the-
law we're choosing, but yeah.
I think that what the state law is that you have to focus on increasing density.
I
And
thought it
there's
was
a,
no more single family.
there's suggested, do you want to chime in?
If I could, it's low, medium, high residential, and it's not single family residential, it's low, medium, and
But similar on the infill and duplex, triplex, CDUs, et cetera.
Nice.
The good session on combining federal tax credits with other incentives to convert commercial buildings to housing. That was neat. So I'll send those slides. Another good one on America 250. So in 2026 is the semi-quincentennial, half 500-year anniversary. And there is funding coming down for, hopefully, if the state budget passes, for museums and events. But yeah, semi-quincentennial, celebrating 250 years since 1776. And I think it's something we should start thinking about city-wise. We'll also have World Cup that year, and it'll be a busy one. But they recommended that cities start looking at establishing committees for events at their, local events, funding may be coming down. So
I
that
didn't
was
even
great.
think about that one.
10.5.
The last one I went to, of course, we kind of split up folks in DBA. I went to different sessions on collaboration, but last one was neat. But it was essentially focused on looking at historic preservation with a racial equity lens, and looking at redlining and racial covenants, and essentially how that affects things over time, how folks of color had less resources, couldn't home loans, back, and that has propagated to the point where there are historic buildings in communities of color that ended up not as well preserved. So if you're establishing a ordinance to set goals of what building counts as historically preserved or not, you want to be aware of that, and that some buildings, just because they weren't maintained as well, look at your criteria with that equity lens that you're not discarding. So it was a good conference.
Okay, thank you.
Hours, yeah.
This is a regional board committee, right?
It's the webinar that I took.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I took the budget webinar from Association of Washington Cities, and I found it fascinating, and I'm looking forward to taking the long one. It's almost 8 o'clock, so this is the 3-slide out of 28 slides version that I'm giving you. For me, the most interesting part was the strategic planning process, which in their budget calendar starts in July. And that's when you find out what does the community want as priorities. And that feeds into what are the council's goals. The council then works with the administration to develop a work plan to make those goals happen. And that work plan includes assessment and, how do you determine if the goal was actually attained? And just it's lots of continually looping back. For me, like the notion that the community would speak to us and that we would that's what our goals and priorities are for. That was a big deal for me. I'm really cutting this down, I promise you. It was an hour and a half. Basically, their budget calendar starts in June when you start really putting together your goals, adopting policies, have public hearings, etc. I'm going to send you guys these slides because I really appreciate your patience in listening to this. But for me, this is a step towards participatory budgeting. And I was very impressed by AWC. So I sent this out hoping it would get to all of you, but I'll send it out again saying, please send this to all of you. Thank you. Yeah.
Is that not in the packet?
Well, I downloaded my packet this morning.
I believe it's in the packet at the very end.
Is it?
Let me double check. Yep. It is, these are the two that you just showed. Yep.
There should be 3. Yeah,
Boom, boom, boom. It's in.
great.
So we can review it. All right. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Just putting in a good of the order thing. It'd be really great to know when the packet is updated.
It's always going to be updated, like an hour before the meeting every time. There's going to be additional materials that are added right before the meeting.
Well, I understand that the majority of council doesn't want to enforce the agenda bill policy, but that's an hour, which includes me driving here. It's not going to give me much time to do oversight.
This isn't an agenda bill. This is like go to the order stuff, right?
No, I know, but the agenda bill policy would be that the packet would be complete on Friday. And I get it that you guys are not interested in that. But I
And
think
that's
an update that happens at 4 it's hard for me to absorb much information.
I don't think it's fair to say we're not interested in it. I think that
But it's so you didn't support it though.
I don't think it's fair to say we don't support it. I think what's fair is that your materials were added. They were added later than you expected, and that's fair that they are added, but maybe you would have liked to see them added earlier. Is there another specific example of how the agenda packet wasn't updated with the information related to the agenda bills that you have?
Point of order and ask maybe this conversation can happen offline between the two of you.
I would appreciate that, because to my knowledge, the packet was updated appropriately at a timely manner. Eric.
On a lighter note.
Yes.
I was thinking about this sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial. How do you
So
spell it?
quincentennial, 500 years, semi-quincentennial.
Okay, so
Quincentennial. I'm
two
gonna write
of us here, I won't name names,
Have been
weren't
on the
around for
council
the
then.
bicentennial, but you guys all remember how nuts the bicentennial.
Hey, wait a minute.
Everything,
Thomas Jefferson were like,
everything had bicentennial, this,
I
ours had
know.
bicentennial stripe. This sesquicentennial thing, whatever, that ain't happening. It's not gonna be like the bicentennial. That's just a marketing, I wanna do this, ain't
I
happening.
lived near Philadelphia and they
It
changed the name of the TV station to
It
Bicentennial.
was nuts.
It was
absolutely-
just a way for people to.
I remember painting fire hydrants red, white, and blue.
How old were you? Oh, my goodness, I like to ask. Oh, Denise. Laughing. All right.
Look it up.
Thank you, Fan. All right, friends. So, we have come to the point of the meeting where I'm supposed to ask, is there anything for good of the order, 5 minutes or less? Okay, let me give you some housekeeping stuff here. The first budget workshop, on general funds departments will be tomorrow, Thursday, October 24th, beginning at 3 p.m. in the mayor's conference room. There will be pizza, salad, and snacks, and our people are taking good care of us. And the public is welcome to attend in person or view remotely, but there will be no opportunities for public comment during the meeting. And a reminder that due to council meeting schedule, that there will be no meeting next week, no regular council meeting on October 30th, because that is a 5th Wednesday of the month. So on Wednesday, November 6th, we'll have our next council meeting. We will, however, have another budget workshop on Monday, the 28th. And so same deal, different topic, but we'll be in the mayor's office. So October 28th, beginning at 3 p.m. And the public is invited to attend in person or remotely. Anyone wishing to speak during public recognition via Zoom for November 6th, apologies. For November 6th, must submit their request through city clerk by calling 360-473-5323 at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. We'll always take public comment on any of the items during the budget workshops as well by emailing city.council@ci.bremerton.wa.us. Meeting is adjourned.
Question?
Oh, whoa. Oh, shoot, wait. I can't unadjourn a meeting, can I?
I appeal the adjournment.
Okay, what's the question? No, it's okay.
What is the topic of Thursday's budget workshop? Is it public
Thursday-
first or is it?
Thursday is the general fund department.
General fund. Okay, thank you. And then public.
Yes.
Next one. All right, thank you.
Public Works on Monday, general fund on Thursday. Okay. Double adjourned. Okay.